Just 2 minutes. That's faster than scrolling through your streaming app, choosing a show, then deciding against it to rewatch another show because you didn't want to start without your partner and sit through the awkward "I started without you" chat. Get your car covered in just 2 minutes so you can live in the moment, not in the worry. Visit santam.co.za. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Oh, oui, oui, Jessica, I Citroën you. You are my chérie de go. I am your wild track ranger.
What are you doing?
I'm just looking on We Buy Cars' website for what I'm getting you for Valentine's Day.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, they have a nationwide spin and win promotion where you can score a guaranteed prize of up to 10,000 Rand when you purchase a car.
Ooh, now that's romantic.
There's also hundreds of discounted auction vehicles available.
So what are we waiting for?
See you this Valentine's Day weekend at We Buy Cars, the easiest way to buy and sell a car by far.
'Cause I'm your lady.
On this special day of love, SAFM wishes you all a happy Valentine's Day. Whether you're celebrating with someone special or embracing self-love, let's make today a day of kindness, joy, and connection. Happy Valentine's Day from all of us at SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
36-year-old Joy loves Insurance Essential because it's low-cost insurance designed for older cars. For her 2013 Ford Figo 1.4 Ambient, she only pays 400 Rand a month. With Insurance Essential, you will get up to 1 million Rand liability cover. That means if you cause an accident, the other car could be covered for up to 1 million Rand. And even more value with the motor warranty, which covers you for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Insurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
What is true love? True love is passionate love. You have two independent words, passion and love, fused together to make a strong definition. Passion is the force that drives the love for something. It's the fuel that keeps love going. Love without passion is like a body without a soul. It's like a car without an engine. No movement would happen. And just in case you are wondering how you can tell if someone truly loves you or if you truly love someone, sacrifice. Sacrifice for one another will indicate if you truly love each other. And sacrifice is giving up something for another thing that is far more important.
Okay, words of wisdom on love. Femi Ogonjini is a global relationship expert and certified love coach on this Friday morning, Friday the 14th, a Friday of love. Love is in the air. It certainly felt that way walking into our studios this morning. Rose petals, red carpets. You know, it made the walk up. It made the walk up the 8 flights to the 6th floor a lot more bearable because, you know, one had to think about, one was infused with the spirit of love and just the good vibes that are there this Friday morning. Welcome to The Talking Point. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana. A pleasure to have you with us on the show this morning as we also mark Valentine's Day. So should I say happy Valentine's Day to all of you? I think this day is probably the best celebrated in school, right? The best Valentine's Day memories, I think, are always a reference back to school. You're wearing red and white, pink and white, buying secret valentines, getting flowers, not getting flowers, chocolate, not getting chocolate. I think as people grow up, Oh, yes, and secret admirers. Kanya saying, my producer, she says, roses from secret admirers. Once you grow up, I don't think that these things happen anymore. You know, do people do that in their offices, in their workplace, where you find a rose on your desk? You're a secret admirer. Woo! You will land up in the HR office immediately. All right, welcome to the show. As you can hear, it's likely to be one of those Fridays, unfortunately. But we'll, of course, try to get back in line and keep it as serious as we can. We'll start off with the open line, your National Roundtable. I'll be taking your calls. On 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104107. That's 0614 104107. So new day, new headline in as far as the internal fractions within the MK party are concerned. This time, allegations of things getting physical, quote unquote, between some of the party's senior leaders, the party's chief whip and the party's deputy president, allegedly at each other's throats over that speech that was given by the deputy president, John Hlophe, at the SONA debate. Remember, he spent about 25 minutes eulogizing, praising former President Jacob Zuma, talking about how he has been the best president for the country. Well, it looks like that really hasn't landed well with the former president and also with some of those in the party. But for it to come to potential blows, as is alleged by some of the stories that are covered in the media, one just has to ask, what is going on in that party, right? All of these fights that are taking place internally, there seems to be these little power plays constantly on the go. Why is there such a tussle for power within the MK party, and what does this do for the survival of the party, for the stability of the party? Is it one of those that come the next national election, there'll be no way around? Certainly quite concerning if the reporting on what is happening is anything to go by. And I must say that those were very sober scenes last night when the president, the defense minister, and the families of the fallen soldiers received the bodies that have been repatriated back home to South Africa. You know, you just have to look at those families. You see the pain and the sorrow on their faces, and you think about the journey that they're going to travel without their loved ones. And we just have to ask again, to what end have these lives been lost? And what impact has the loss of these lives had on finding any lasting solutions to peace in the DRC? Yes, there are all of these meetings that are taking place at different regional body levels. But when you look at the outcomes of those meetings, it still very much gives a sense of talks about talks, right? Whether present or past talks, still very much talks about solutions. And when you look at the planning around it as well, there doesn't seem to be a clear sense of urgency. So one also thinks about the families that are in South Africa today and other parts of the continent, by the way, because we're not the only ones who sent, people to be part of that, or soldiers to be part of that peacekeeping mission. But for the families that are here, that are home, you can only imagine what they were going through last night, watching those coffins and thinking about whether they are going to be next, in terms of whether their loved ones will come home alive. So there definitely needs to be a greater sense of urgency around how to resolve the conflict in the DRC. So really our thoughts and prayers with all of the families that have lost loved ones in the DRC, and just that real moment that last night has, of course, become for so many of them as they prepare to lay their loved ones to rest. So coming up on the show over the next couple of hours, what you can expect in the second hour, we are going to be speaking to those that aren't afraid of conquering mountains, right? You look at a mountain and many people will say, nope, I'm not going up that mountain. There are, of course, all sorts of other myths about certain mountains, right? You know that as you drive from Polokwane to Johannesburg, just after, is it just before or after Mudimole? Depends on which direction you're driving in. But there's a mountain there. It has a couple of crosses on it, and I can't remember what it's called now. And there are myths about that mountain that if you climb that mountain, you get to the top, you'll never come back. And so that's the story. If you ever take the route to Polokwane, it's something that you're probably aware of. So you have all of these myths about the mountain. There's a similar myth, by the way, when you're on Kilimanjaro as well. There's an adjacent mountain on Kilimanjaro, and they say nobody climbs to the top of that mountain because if they do, they never come back. And so today we're going to be speaking to those who dare to climb to the top of mountains, regardless of what that might be. Saray Kumalo is a mountaineer, conquered Everest, author, motivational speaker. Angela Jung is an ambassador of Brand South Africa, entrepreneur, founder of Impilo Collection, and she also is a mountaineer. So we'll be speaking about some of their experiences and also what drives them really to put their bodies through all of that. What is the greater pursuit that they are after? And then we will be wrapping things up with, my favorite time of the week. It is the Friday wind down. This is what you can expect.
Hello fam, Linda Cwentsalo. Catch me this coming Friday on SAFM. On the Friday wind down between 11 and 12, we'll be celebrating Love Buffet, talking all things love and also sharing some about my music career. You'll also get to listen to my new music, so make sure you don't miss this one. Tune into SAFM 104 to 107 FM.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
Defending champions are eager to display a top-class brand of football to emphasize why they are Wienerkusen, while the Bavarians are confident this is their season. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch the Battle of Giants, Bayer Leverkusen FC versus Bayern München FC on Saturday, 15 February at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start off in Cape Town this morning on the open line. Sammy, good morning.
Good morning, Ma'am Cathy, and good morning to all SFM listeners. I just want to talk about President of the DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, not attending these recent African Union summits, including the last one in Tanzania for East African Community. but chose to attend. Is currently in Germany attending peace and security in Africa, which is held in Germany currently. I think the reason why President Felix Tshisekedi is refusing to attend this African summit because this conflict in the DRC has been going on for over 30 years, Sister Katie, but African Union or any of other sub-region institutions, they have never condemned Rwandan army or Rwandan government for invading the DRC. Please tell me which any other country other than South Africa has called out a spade a spade. Only South Africa that have condemned Rwandan army invading the DRC. So I did listen this morning to the African update with the lady who stood in today for Africa.
Lerato Tsebe, who is an Africa scholar par excellence.
Yes, you speak a bit of Francais there. Thank you. But she did say something which I disagree with, that Paul Kagame is scoring points for showing up in this meeting and Felix Tshisekedi is not attending, which is wrong because as for us Congolese people, we have noticed that for very long, for far too long, African Union is not taking a firm stance against Rwanda. But there is a United Nations Security Council report singling out Rwandan army involvement by backing M23. But the African Union has said nothing about that. They have never mentioned Rwanda in any of their reports. The EU, the East African Summit in Tanzania, just last week, they did not mention Rwanda involvement in the DRC. So for President Felix Tshisekedi could not attend any of these things because they are useless.
Look, Sammy, I agree with a large part of what you've said, right? Because what we know is that there's been a lot of dishonesty in terms of how the DRC conflict is dealt with, especially publicly, the messaging around it, what is said by these leaders when it comes to accountability. But does that justify not being at the negotiating table when you know just how much is at stake? You know, part of the reporting suggests that Tshisekedi is in Germany to lobby for sanctions against Rwanda for not pulling the M23 out of the region. But this is something that he's been doing also for some time. It's not the first time that the DRC tries to lobby for sanctions. The point is that right now, the crisis is escalating. Human lives are being lost right now. And surely all of the players affected must be at the table. The blue ticking doesn't help anyone with anything. In fact, it even renders the process useless. It reduces it to being talk shops.
Okay, may I respond to that? I think saying that the Congolese delegation is not attending to this summit is wrong. The Prime Minister was in the and he assisted, he represented the president. So saying that the Congolese was not the Congolese delegation was not there, it is wrong. And why President Felix Tshisekedi decided to go to Europe and lobbying for support, recently, just yesterday, the European Parliament have issued a directive to the European Council to suspend the military support to the Rwandan army and the funding. That is what the African Union did not do. So when someone sees that to my left, I'm not...
Sammy, I don't know what happened here. But basically, Sammy, you're saying, of course, he'll go where he feels like he's supported. But does that help solve the current crisis? And I wonder where it leaves a country like South Africa then, in terms of the role of our own forces in that conflict. Sintu, you're in Midrand. Good morning.
Yes, how are you, Cathy?
Good, Sintu, go for it.
Yeah, it's almost 2 weeks now since I've been talking to you. I don't know what did you do to Lebo. not allowing me to be on the radio.
Do you have a contract that says that Sintu must be on air every week? There's no such a contract. Go for it.
No, thanks very much. You know, Kevin, I'm very worried about the state of the MK party in relation to what they have delivered into the SONA. And I don't think I'm the only person who is so worried about it. To me, it seems as if that there was no proper research, etc., work that has been done to make it a point that they're going to raise some critical issues and fundamental issues that are affecting the country. And all this infighting is not assisting the party, but it's damaging the reputation of the party, which started very well, you see, reducing the ANC to what it is in the last election.
And Sintu, didn't you say you were joining the MK party? Aren't you now a member of the party?
No, I am, Katie. I am. I'm not apologetic about that. That's why I'm saying that I'm worried.
Why you're in the river of regret?
No, I'm not regretting at all, but the developments that are happening, you see, makes me to be worried. It's like an ill-disciplined child in the house. You'll get worried, Kathy, if you find out that your kid is involved in some shenanigans at school. Don't get worried.
But as party members, Sintu, what is happening organizationally? So are all of these fractions amongst the leadership, are they just taking place at the top? And are the rest of the structures of the MK party going about their business on a day-to-day?
Yeah, you know, Kat, what I've been suggesting at branch level and regional level to the comrades that I've been interacting with is that the sooner the party goes to the Congress or conference, the better. Because, you see, we know that all the people that are there have been democratically, we cannot run away from the fact that there are still people who are feeling that there is no democracy, you see, and all the powers have been vested, you see, on the president. It's something that was discussed. I think people from the region, they were represented, you see, to discuss those matters. But I think the sooner we go to the Congress, the better in terms of discussion and allaying any fears that may affect the party in the next elections, you see. But regret, I don't regret. I'm still going to continue to recruit people to join the Umkondo and make it a point that it's growing. But you must also remember that a growing party, you see, will always experience such problems. We should not despair. We are going to soldier on to make sure that we address all the issues.
Okay.
But comrades need to improve in their approach in terms of addressing the issues that are affecting people.
Sintu out in Midrand, thanks for that view. Yeah, absolutely. Not a good look at all for the MK party in terms of its internal fights that are consistently finding themselves in the public space. It's 9:30, time for your latest news headlines. We continue with the open line on the other side of this.
Good morning. In the headlines, the DA has called for the dissolution of the Johannesburg Water Board amid the latest water crisis in the city. Large parts of Johannesburg have been without water since Tuesday. The South African Human Rights Commission says it's investigating Gauteng's online learner placement system. Its provincial office is inundated with complaints of unplaced learners for the 2025 academic year. And the most senior U.S. prosecutor in Manhattan has resigned. The resignation comes just days after the U.S. Justice Department told her office to drop a corruption case against the mayor of New York, Eric Adams. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
The Buccaneers want to demonstrate that they are the reigning champions and nothing will stop them from marching on to the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Bahaga have a different game plan to return to Hampatele with happy faces. This is the Nedbank Cup Last 16. Orlando Pirates FC tackles Baroka FC. This Saturday, 15 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and at 3 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Hello, Katie. You are speaking to Soyama in King Williamstown. Katie, today I'm happy that the remains of the fallen soldiers have came back from DRC Congo. But I just hope, maybe I missed the reason that was given by the government and NDF of what really happened there, what happened there. So I just hope that maybe they've given the families the real truth of what happened so that they get closer. They don't tell the families what they told us, because for us, they wanted us to believe what they're saying. So I just hope that they've told the families the real truth of what happens so that the families get closure.
Good morning. So all this time, Africa and South Africa were saying in Ukraine there should be negotiations, and the West couldn't have any of that. Now that so much damage has occurred and so many people have died, now they want to negotiate. I guess their thirst for blood has been quenched now, so they will negotiate. All of this destruction could have been averted had they negotiated to begin with.
Good morning, Takatawe Ngofimvava. I would like to talk about corruption and racism. Cathy, to me, it is better racism because it's the other race that hates other race. If they don't kill us, I don't think we must even concern about it. You should have just leave it like that because that is their inner being. But corruption, Cathy, here it is killing the whole country because our kids, they are sitting with their graduate degrees without having a job. They had to go overseas to seek greener pastures in the country of their milk and honey. But because we are led by the corrupt people, corruption is just terrible. It's killing the country.
Good morning, Sis Katie and your producer and all the listeners of SAFM. Sis Katie, I like to know why the law of this country is not treated as the same way like politicians. For instance, if the police, they're gonna come and arrest me because I don't have the big name, they will never say that I must go for myself in the police station, and then he will never ask nicely. They're gonna took me there, and then I will never get bail immediately. But the politicians, they're gonna ask them nicely, and then they're gonna see the magistrate immediately, and then they get bail. Why the law of this country is not treated as the same way like politicians? Because there are some of them politicians, they are involved with the corruption, but they just not stay in jail maybe a couple of a month or something. So I don't know why. I think you get my point, Sisketi. Sia from Cape Town. Thank you.
Yeah, Sia, I absolutely get your point, and it helps to build and feed perceptions, right, that the law has eyes, it sees, and that inequality when it comes to the treatment of individuals. I think it is absolutely a point that the criminal justice system continuously needs to be keeping itself in check on, because all are equal before the law in our Constitution. Well, it's still the open line, your National Roundtable. I'm taking your calls on 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Let me go to Cape Town. Ngonde, good morning. Good morning, Ngonde. All right, it looks like we've lost him there. Let me go to Letabo. You're in Pretoria, Letabo. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, Letabo.
I'm good. I want to talk about Valentine. I was good. There are some people who want to carry Valentine. They are Valentine themselves. I've got neighbors. The lady, she's living with albinism, and the guy is a totally blind person. They've been together for over 13 years, and they've been married for 3 years. Hello?
Wow, Litabo, I'm listening to you.
And these neighbors of mine, in the morning they walk together, they train together, they walk and come back, and they've got 11-year-old. And when I was talking, because it's been 3 years since I've been with them, since they were married and stuff, and they said to me, they've never been to, even they didn't go to a honeymoon, they've never been to a weekend away, because they both depend on their disability grant, so it's difficult for them to get holiday away. And I thought, man, these people, they are the one who deserve, because they love each other. The lady, she's a beautiful albino girl, and the guy is totally blind. But the way they love each other, it's amazing. They make you believe in love.
Oh, what a beautiful story, Litabo. And I was going to ask you, doesn't it inspire you seeing them?
It inspires most of us who are living here to say, but that's what we call love, because even you can see the way they are always together. If they're not with their son who's playing football, they even go to watch matches. And I ask the guy to say, when you're watching the game, how do you know what your son's? My wife tells me if he scored a goal of how he's. Yeah, that's love, Cathy. And I wish someone who's listening can just give them, a holiday away or something.
Yeah, but Litabo, why don't you guys, as their immediate community, also try and get together and do something special for them? And it doesn't have to be big, but Akira, you are the one that is inspired. You are the one that is seeing the love every day.
We are living in Pomals that so everybody's looking for everybody let's try to leave, but that's because maybe.
And where in Pretoria is it, Litabo?
In Soshanguve.
Oh, okay. So they're out in Soshanguve, and you say they've never ever gone on honeymoon.
Gone on honeymoon or even a weekend away, because I've asked them where I know they are KFC in McDonald's, because we can't afford. We are surviving on the disability. Both of them are getting disability grant. So you can see they want to put the household together with the money. Because they live, you can think they live perfectly, but everybody deserves a weekend away and the motor house, which I wish that I can experience away, being away from. Even they can say I can babysit with they can drop me with the kids.
You're ready to babysit.
I'm ready.
Litabo, what a lovely call. I'm going to put you through back to Kanya. Today is Valentine's Day, the spirit of love everywhere. Isn't it just so beautiful? I believe true love still exists. I know there are lots of people. No, Zalma, don't yawn. Zalma's our TD this morning. Don't yawn. True love does exist. Litabo just told you, hey, in spite of whatever odds, whatever challenges, it still exists. And it's not what you see on Instagram, right? Not to say it can't be that, but it's not only that. So it's not about 200,000 roses. How many people are going to afford to buy 200,000 roses for you on Valentine's Day? Yeah? So it exists in many, many different ways. And maybe there's somebody out there who is feeling generous and can afford to give out a weekend away for the lovely couple that Litabo was telling us about out in Soshanguve. We'll take his details down, and if there's anybody who gets in touch, then we'll see how to take it forward. All right, let me go. I see Ngonde, you're back on the line. Good morning.
Hi, Cathy.
Yes.
I know you are fine. You're full of love this morning.
I'm always full of love, Ngonde. Always full of love. My heart oozes love. Yes, what do you want to talk about?
Anyway, Cathy, in passing, you talked to a guy about the MKP. Well, I just say one thing. The MK has got a democracy of a special type. Please don't ask me to elaborate. I'm going to talk now about the soldiers. One of the ladies, one of the victims, shall I say, the family of the soldiers, one lady from Limpopo, had this to say about her brother or her lover, whatever, that he texted him just before he died, and then he texts back saying that we are under heavy fire. And that's where I want to launch my argument. China has got beautiful toys. So does America. So does Russia. So South Africa, with its networking, can liaise with China, especially, to borrow them, maybe a satellite, whatever, satellite that can be hosted, in the air, whatever, that can be able to see where the missile or whatever it was that killed our soldiers, it emanated from. Exactly, because if you have satellite in the sky, it's easy to see what is going on, all right? Secondly, one of my brothers-in-law, who's married to the daughter of my grandmother, right, had this to say. He's an ex-MK combatant, a veteran. He says something we all know, something that we don't want to admit. He says, when you're a soldier, it's not really employment. I want to repeat that. When you're a soldier, it's not me saying this. He says it's not really employment, right? When you're a soldier, it must be clear in your mind that you are going there to kill or be killed. Cathy?
Sure.
I think I will end right there.
Sure, Ngonde, yeah. Very sobering indeed out in Cape Town. And the reality is that families know, right, that any outcome is possible, but nobody sits there with the worst case scenario in mind. We're always hoping for the best, right? We're always hoping, even under the worst of circumstances, that there is a way in which what we view as the worst case scenario can be avoided. So, yeah, those families are still going through a very, very difficult time. Mandla, you're out in Cape Town. Good morning.
Happy Valentine's Day, Cathy.
Thank you, Mandla.
Yeah. President Ramaphosa yesterday in Parliament, I found contradiction in what he was saying. Saying that people don't need to go outside of the country. We can talk our issues and solve them here in South Africa. The president is failing to meet the leaders and activists of the Khoisan community who are camped outside union buildings. Instead of talking to them, he went to court to want to evict them. Vincent Magwenya is on record saying that President Ramaphosa will not talk to AfriForum and Solidarity. Miners in Marikana, instead of talking to them, the ANC government sent police there to murder them execution style. They matched the apartheid government, what it did in 1950 in the Sharpeville massacre. A female student was shot with rubber bullets at close range in West during the Christmas Hall. And the one student was killed in New Jersey. And a man coming out of a doctor was mistaken as a student by the police, and they killed him. Farmers are anxious. They are living in fear, and farmers are investors. They are creating employment in this country. That's what we need, investment and job creation to reduce unemployment. They are living in fear. Instead of Ramaphosa going to meet them, and that time Begitele going to meet them, they just mock them. Begitele mock the farmers and saying that you are not the only one that's getting killed. People in the townships are also getting killed. These are not the flies. It's people's lives. So they must take them serious. But Ramaphosa now is showing dishonesty because the ANC doesn't want to listen to anybody here in South Africa. The doctors are saying that NHI some aspects of the NHI are not workable. But Motsoaledi is showing his arrogance and don't want to talk to them, you know. So this thing is affecting people here in South Africa. Tourists are getting killed here in South Africa. And in the Eastern Cape, business people are kidnapped, and then in Mpumalanga, they are kidnapped. So it's a serious business that needs serious people, not dishonest people like the ANC.
Okay, Manda out in Cape Town. Yeah, thanks for that view. And I think it's precisely why you will often hear the president, some of the leaders from the ANC talking about how they want to be a listening party, want to run a listening government, and all that jazz. Remember the social distancing that was coined last year? We've been socially distanced from our people. But has that distance closed? Are things any different today? Has there been any difference in approach today than, let's say, a year ago, 18 months ago? And so much would be resolved if people were just given an opportunity to be heard, that as they speak, they are listened to, because that validates them too. It validates their existence too. It validates their concerns. Rantisa, you're calling from Skukune. Good morning.
Good morning, Sis Katie. Good morning to your listeners. Rantisa
Lisiba.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, hi. What do you want to talk about,
Kathy, my point is about the response by the president to Sona. But before that, I've been called by many people that I must raise this issue with you. There is a local community here in Valkra. That community, their primary school has been taken by storm last November 27. Up until today, the school called Osiapane, it's here in Skukune, in Vagrau, Elias Motsoaledi municipality. They've raised the issues throughout, they've raised the issues, the authorities, all they get is a lie. Even yesterday, I tested the lie from the authority when they were asking a simple thing, mobile classroom, because the school is worn out, it's been built by the community themselves. They're only left with only 5 classes. The children are rotational, are attending school rotationally. Today they come this group, the other day come the other group, and the results are so poor, Sakina. I can't even understand how they are going to do, but they said, I must ask you to raise this issue, the Provincial Department of Education in Limpopo, in particular MEC Leroy. What should happen to this poor school called Osiapane Primary School in Skukune, Elias Motsoaledi municipality? They are very frustrated.
So Lisiba, I'm going to ask you, get the details for us, right, so that we can follow up with the with the district, but also follow up with the provincial education department. And in fact, you're reminding me, just on that note, we are going to have feedback for you on Monday on the Northern Cape situation. We had a caller this week who said learners in the Northern Cape have not been attending full lessons. They go in at 8 o'clock and then they're sent back home by 8:30 because the schools there are saying they don't have any funding. So there isn't stationery, there isn't food, all that jazz. So on Monday morning we're going to have a response to that story. So really, Siba, I just have to give that update.
Right now I'm on my way to school. I'm going to meet the principal and discuss about this. I'm not sure how we're going to get the hold of yourself so that you can directly talk to the school authority, because they're very frustrated. Today there is a community meeting. The parents want to close the school completely so that they can get the attention of the relevant authorities. So we don't think that's the right way to go.
Lisiba, let's do this. Let me put you through to Kanya and give her the details that you need to give her, and you can keep the producers posted on what's happening throughout the morning, okay?
Okay, I'll stay on for
all right. Thanks for that, Lisiba. Let me go to Johannesburg. Is it Sazi? Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Yes, you are correct. It's Sazi.
Yes, sir.
Cathy, I think now we're turning you to Minister of Social Development. I'm on the same theme as well as the two last callers on the issue of social distancing from the public institutions, the issue of being invalidated, as well as not being listened to. I'm calling on behalf of a family in the Eastern Cape that has been disconnected from electricity connection as early as 2nd of February this year. A call was logged with ESCOM. To date, they have not been connected. When I got hold of the story, when I got informed about it, this is day 3, I immediately tweeted ESCOM as well as the ESCOM chairperson, Tetonyati. He normally is active on Twitter. To date, there has not been a response. This is day 3, in addition of the previous days that this family has not been connected. And the worst part, Cathy, is that the household is a grandmother household with a grandchild. And she is a sitting duck in a rural village at the end of the village with livestock. That is one problem. She's in the dark with livestock. She's in the dark. Her food, we can't even mention her food now. Definitely it was rotten by day 2 or 3 after they got disconnected. The call was logged. There is a reference number for that call which was logged. And you can't even log another call on top of a call that is still not closed. But there is no solution.
And Sazi, my understanding is that from what you're describing, that they're not communicating with her as well.
Nothing. I'm in Johannesburg. I'm calling on behalf of a family in the Eastern Cape, which means they've done sufficiently. And now remember, there's also the issue of resources. Calling, tweeting, you need to have the resources. How do you then get that person to be resolved, to be listened to be assisted?
And you know, Sazi, sure, that is actually part of why the anger around service delivery and how services are approached, especially sometimes by public entities. That's why the anger is at the level that it is. The fact that you are in Johannesburg trying to help an issue in the Eastern Cape get resolved just speaks to the extent to which there is a brokenness systemically with how some of our services are delivered, or not delivered for that matter.
It's fractured. This person is in the rural areas to go to the next neighbor. Remember, it's a grandmother. They live with medication. They've got concoctions. To get such convenience, they need to walk to the neighbor. It's rural. The houses are not close as they are where we are at. The exposure of being known that there is not even a light. So by the morning, those goats cannot be there. By the morning, those chickens cannot be there. And ESCOM is just dead silent, seeing nothing wrong with this thing. Cathy, I called myself, this is day 3. Day 1, I called myself. On day 1, the call center was not working. There was an automatic voice telling you that we've got a high volume call, please call later, and it drops. I called, I think, 3 times the first day. The second day, which happened to be yesterday, I called again. I'm speaking to a robot. There's no human person who can be able to assess what is the problem. They require you to enter the reference call. You put it through, and they tell you the matter is being attended. Till when? What must happen?
Yeah, incredibly frustrating. I completely understand your frustration levels, and it would help if there's communication around this is the problem, this is how we're fixing it, this is how long it's going to take for us to fix it. That way people know, that way people can plan their lives, not just to leave things in the dark. Sazi, thanks for calling in. And again, I'm going to put you through back to Kanya to see if there is anything we can do to actually assist. But it's the disdain, right? It's the disdain. A similar thing, we're talking about the water cuts in Johannesburg. I tried to call Joburg Water a number of times this week. Do you know? And I know Ferial Haffiji has been writing about this at least for the last year. She's been following the decay of service delivery in the city very closely. It's something that she's very, very passionate about. But you call the call center, there isn't any answer. There's no other reference point. So now what must people do? What must people do? How do we have our matters resolved? How do we follow up? How do we query? Hey, what's the solution? As Sazi is asking, what is the solution? Because at the end of the day, as consumers, we want to get access to services. So the consumer is always going to be following up because they're inconvenienced by not being able to access a particular service. Something has got to change in terms of that culture and approach. All right, let me continue taking some of your contributions on the open line this morning.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Chuwedu Pulmudise and Rocklands, Mama Bluefontein. Yes, it's always the case. I can make one example. Like now, we've got this outstanding case against Mema Pisa Ngakula. She is claiming that she's too old to go to jail now, but when she was doing things, she never thought of those things. And she will be asked when she can go to court and all those things. Why can't she just be arrested and be taken there and be sentenced? It's so painful because all soldiers, you are crying because of her. I thank you.
Good morning, Cathy and the SAFM listeners. I'm not worried at all at what happens to Mkondo Esizwe. Especially if they could at least go to that electric conference. I know Floyd Chifambu is not going to be elected by the people there. Fixes him right. How can he sell his own brother like that? Judas Iscariot.
Morning, Cathy. Cathy, I appreciate the way the president handled the matter of SANDF and Donald Trump saga. He managed to damage control the problem. So I think it's not an emotional person. Yeah.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. How are you? It's John in Bloemfontein. Raiti matata Trump amangata. He's focusing on other things, but yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? Because I saw the video yesterday. Trump's son told him, "You are not the president. You must go." You know what, Sis Cathy? Let me tell you something. A kid will expose you. When you are busy there gossiping about your colleagues or people around your circle and your child is hearing that, when you are around the same people, the child will tell the person, "Hey, you, my mother said this," or he will just say like this one, "You are not the president. You must go." Hi, what a beautiful world we live in. But that boy is a pure South African. He behaves like a South African, that one. Dangoma.
A pure South African. I thought we were going straight to news. It's 10 o'clock.
In our top stories, DA again calls for dissolution of Johannesburg Water Board and a probe into Gauteng's online admission system. Good morning. The DA has called for the dissolution of the Johannesburg Water Board amid the latest water crisis in the city. Large parts of Johannesburg have been without water since Tuesday. This is due to a power failure which disrupted pumping at the Mfuleni substation at Rand Water's Forest Hill and Aikenhof pump stations. Rand Water has attributed the supply disruptions to demand exceeding capacity. Tyrell Mayers is the DA's Johannesburg MMC for Environment and Infrastructure Services.
Residents have again woken up in the last few days to no water, and we are also deeply concerned by the absenteeism of the Executive Mayor, Dada Morera, and the MMC for EISD, Mr. Councillor Jack Sekwele. 80% of the city of Johannesburg is literally without water. It cannot go on, and this whole process and disaster could have been mitigated better had there been better communication. So we need competent people in the Johannesburg Water Board to oversee this.
Meanwhile, the EFF has called on Johannesburg Water to come up with an urgent turnaround strategy, the party's Gauteng chairperson Nkululeko Dunga.
This is not because residents are using too much water. It is because the infrastructure is old, dilapidated, and neglected. The city's water pipes, reservoirs, and pump stations have been allowed to collapse due to poor maintenance, lack of investment, and the deployment of incompetent ANC cadres who are more interested in looting state resources than serving the people. The EFF in Gauteng rejects Joburg Water's explanation of overconsumption as a lazy excuse for a complex problem that requires decisive, far-sighted and visionary leadership that truly cares about its people.
The South African Human Rights Commission says it's investigating Gauteng's online learner placement system. Its provincial office is inundated with complaints of unplaced learners for the 2025 academic year. The South African Human Rights Commission has previously raised concerns over the slow placement of learners. It's called on parents and guardians of unplaced learners to lodge complaints so that it can determine the extent of the problem. The Commission's provincial manager, Zamanto Ngwambeki.
We're also concerned about the placement of learners in Alson schools and the availability of those schools that cater for special needs children. And that's why we need the public to come to us so that we can understand the different categories of issues that exist. So what we need to actually categorize the different issues. And then once we categorize, each category needs to be thoroughly investigated.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's Fire Services says a fire between Fairfield Farm and Cascade Farm has been contained. The municipality's Fire Services spokesperson, Aniska Root, says no properties have been affected.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's Fire Services successfully contained the fire that they were battling between the Fairfield Farm and Cascade Farm in Ceres in the early hours of this morning. The fire was reported late last night. Firefighting vehicles and crews from our Ceres station, along with 2 ground teams from NCC, will remain on scene for monitoring and mopping up operations until the area is deemed safe.
Further afield, and finally, the most senior U.S. prosecutor in Manhattan, Danelle Sassoon, has resigned. The resignation comes just days after the U.S. Justice Department told her office to drop a corruption case against the mayor of New York, Eric Adams. The mayor's alleged to have accepted gifts totaling more than $100,000 in exchange for favors. He had denied this. The BBC's Nada Taufik reports.
Danielle Sassoon, a conservative recently promoted by Donald Trump, said Eric Adams' lawyers repeatedly urged a quid pro quo, offering to cooperate with Trump's immigration crackdown only if his indictment was dismissed. She said that would set a breathtaking and dangerous precedent. Although a Democrat, Eric Adams has praised Mr. Trump's agenda and attended his inauguration. A senior Justice Department official who previously was Trump's criminal defense lawyer now says that Ms. Sassoon and other colleagues who worked on Mr. Adams' case will be put under investigation for disobeying orders.
Recapping the top story, the DA has called for the dissolution of the Johannesburg Water Board amid the latest water crisis in the city. Large parts of Johannesburg have been without water since Tuesday. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
'Cause I'm your lady.
On this special day of love, SAFM wishes you all a happy Valentine's Day. Whether you're celebrating with someone special or embracing self-love, let's make today a day of kindness, joy, and connection. Happy Valentine's Day from all of us at SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Welcome to the second hour of The Talking Point as we lead conversations that move us. It is 8 after 10 o'clock as we continue the show. We start off this hour with good news. Oh, Litabo, in Soshanguve, you're going to be so happy. You're going to be so happy. Let me go to this gentleman that I have on the line, none other than Mr. Jerry Mabena. Jerry, good morning to you. Long time, no chat, but this morning, of course, you're getting in touch for all the right reasons.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners. I couldn't be more honored.
Of course, we got a call from Litabo out in Soshanguve who, was telling us about this couple that are his neighbors. And he talked just about the beautiful love story that they share. They've been together for 13 years. They got married 3 years ago. And, they really inspire their community when it comes to modeling what true love looks like. But they haven't had money to go on honeymoon. They aren't even able to take a weekend away because they're both living with disabilities. The woman is living with albinism, and the man is blind, we understand. And you are stepping in. You're about to at least make life a bit more pleasurable for them.
Cathy, yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think these stories are stories that inspire us. And I think it's only nice for us as South Africans to just start thanking each other for these kind of good deeds that those around us do. So if we could help them, it would be amazing. And I actually just spoke to our GM at Sanctuary Mandela, and for those of you who don't know who Sanctuary Mandela is, it is the house that Nelson Mandela used to live in from 1992 to 1998. And we basically have converted it into a 5-star boutique hotel, and we would be very, very honored to have your two lovebirds come and stay with us for a couple of days. And yeah, we treat them and also get inspired by them ourselves.
Oh, wow. That is absolutely amazing. So a couple of nights stay at Sanctuary Mandela, 5-star boutique hotel, absolutely stunning. I've been to the place a couple of times. The food is amazing too. Of course, it's not a place you go every day because the budget has to align.
Be nice, okay. Be nice.
So, Jerry, we absolutely appreciate this gesture. We'll get in touch with Litabo and put the two of you guys in touch so that we can make this special for our lovebirds in Soshanguve.
It's an absolute honor, and I think congratulations to SAFM for making these beautiful rewards. I think we need more of them so that South Africans can be inspired to do good.
Happy Valentine's Day, Jerry.
And to you too, and to all your listeners. Thank you so much, Cathy.
Wonderful. Jerry Mabena there. Wow, isn't that amazing? So, off to Sanctuary Mandela they go. our couple is finally going to have their weekend away. It may not be a long honeymoon, but absolutely the weekend away is loading. Lita was going to be so excited. You see, sometimes it just takes something small to be able to make such a positive difference in somebody's life. Be good to your neighbors. Huh? Look at what your neighbors can do for you. While you don't know, look at what your neighbors can do for you. When they ask for salt, tlogela go timana. Ba fe letswai. Ba fe sukiri. Okay, I digress. I'm looking at the time. Okay, a couple of words of voice notes to take a break, and I'm back with our mountaineers for this hour.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Chuwedu Paul Modise and Rocklands, Mama Bloemfontein. Yes, it's always the case. I can make one example. Like now, we've got this outstanding case against Mema Pisa Ngakula. She is claiming that she's too old to go to jail now, but when she was doing things, she never thought of those things. And she will be asked when she can go to court and all those things. Why can't she just be arrested and be taken there and be sentenced? It's so painful because all soldiers, you are crying because of her. I thank you.
Good morning, Sis Cathy and your team. Sis Cathy, I also want to comment on the DRC issue and Tshisekedi. I think Tshisekedi is being disrespectful to all Africans who are trying to resolve this conflict. And nobody is talking about the wrongs that he is doing as well. He is clashing and fighting and hiring mercenaries from Europe to come and kill his people in Eastern Congo there, just because they speak a different language. Why would you want to push out people from their land because they speak a foreign language, but they are Congolese? So nobody's talking about that, Cathy.
Good morning, Sis Cathy. Sis Cathy, the government spent millions, if not billions, in allocating funds to agencies like your NYDA, your CEDA, and we hear less about the work that they do in communities, especially us from small towns and rural villages. They've got very little to no programs in assisting young people in those areas. In fact, I rarely hear about them doing anything in communities to help young entrepreneurs. So I'd like you to find out about those two agencies, specifically NYDA and CEDA, as to what are they doing with all these millions that they've been allocated each and every year. Thank you. It's important from Frieda.
Good morning, Cathy. Believe it or not, I just find this reporting on this MK thing about a Sona speech just so annoying, really. Should it even be getting airtime? Because I find it just very nonsensical. How could a former judge who could write his own judgment suddenly had to be given a speech to make? I don't even understand this idea that he had prepared his own speech and then he was given this one at the last minute. Why couldn't he deliver his own speech, the one that he wrote for himself? It's just unnecessary time being wasted on nonsensical stuff, really.
The Yellow Guys have a top-class plan to play elite rugby to remain in the top 5. But second-place Giants, the Red and Blacks are undoubtedly chasing the first position. This is the top 14. Clermont-Auvergne collides with Stade Toulousain on Sunday, 16 February at 10 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
#SAFM Talking Point.
Well, I promised that today we're going to be in conversation with two remarkable women. And I gave the example of, when we see mountains, most people avoid mountains, want to run away from mountains. But today we're focusing on mountaineers. These are the people who have the guts, who have the grit to say, I am going to take on this challenge mentally, physically. I will put my body through it. In studio with me, Angela Young. She is an ambassador of Brand South Africa, entrepreneur and founder of the Impilo Collection Foundation. Angela, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming to studio. And it's good to see you again. We haven't seen each other in years.
Thank you so much for having me, Cathy. I've been climbing mountain with you. And seeing you here after all those years, it's amazing.
Saray Kumalo is a mountaineer, author, and motivational speaker. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, and really appreciate the fact that you have made time to be part of this conversation. Firstly, mountaineering as a sport is still something that I guess is seen as a very niche hobby. It's not something that most people think about, well, okay, it's a Saturday morning, it's a Sunday morning, I want to go and hike, or I want to go climb a mountain. Mm-hmm. And it is very different hiking at the botanical gardens and then wanting to go and climb Mount Everest. Where did the love for mountains begin for you, Angela?
Cathy, I think because, the mountain's calling. People are very curious about why would a jeweler go and climb the mountain. I'm not a professional climber like Sarah, but I think, of course, I learn a lot from her. And in going back to 2017, that was the first time I met my biological mother after 30 years of constantly looking for her. Yeah, so going through a very difficult childhood, I can really relate some of the girls' problems. So I think so you can only give when you have also. Mm-hmm. And being a mother, being an example, leading by example, and I think it's important to me. So 2018 and 2019, I was invited to climb Kilimanjaro for Caring for Girls. For girls, they cannot afford sanitary pads and missing school for 50 days a year. So that resonated with me. So I climbed Kilimanjaro with Caring for Girls. And after 2020, during COVID, and seeing people are suffering and needing the food, and just by word of mouth, I started a food drive and calling out all my friends and family to come and help. We collected 10 tons of food. And so we gave out to all the some of the GBV shelters, OH Home, and orphanage. But who is Angela to give out those food? So that's motivated me to start it in Impilo Collection Foundation. Mm. And later on, we received 1 ton of sanitary pads. Cathy, I don't even know what is 1 ton. And when they say to me, this one pallet, one forklift, you have 1 ton of food here. So 10 tons, we have like a whole huge of trucks to go around and give out the food. And then one of the girls actually come up to me and says, Auntie Angela, next time when you come, please come with some bras. And then I realized they're not wearing a bra. And perpetrators see that as an invitation of sexual attention. Then I realized that year, it was 2,700 women died from gender-based violence. And the number wasn't even reported. And so initially, I was just going to collect 2,700 bras. And we came back with 6,200 bras. Mm. And that was also had the opportunity to go and climb, get to Everest Base Camp and 6,200 meters Island Peak with Sarah. So that's how I started to into the mountaineering world.
Sure. So it seems to me that it's a marriage, right, of leaning perhaps into a bigger purpose that is born out of your own hurt, your own trauma, and trying to almost repair the inner child, right? Repair the broken child in you. But as you lean into that, it leads you on all of these different paths that you may not even have anticipated when you started.
Not at all. That's why I was saying the mountains was calling.
Sarah, let me come to you and talk about your experience. Mountains are full of all sorts of things. Some of them we don't even know. Why climb mountains? As I don't know if you do it full time, but I know, of course, you are a professional climber. But why climb mountains?
You know, one of the old school mountaineers in the 50s was asked that question, why climb Everest? And he said, because it's there, which sounds very profound. But really, I'm an accidental mountaineer. Yes, now I've left the corporate world, but when I started climbing, I wanted to find me. And I think I found me on the trails. And people don't have to be, labeled mountaineers or born in the mountains to be mountaineers. It starts with a hike. It starts with, I don't know, Water Sisulu, as somebody said, just botanical gardens. And you kind of want more because you realize that it opens your mind to much more. It helps you switch off and appreciate nature and what it has to offer. But at the same time, it helps you see that stepping out of the comfort zone, that's where growth is, at least for me. And I've been climbing since 2012, although I grew up hiking and camping. And I started climbing because I had lost my sister and I just wanted to find me and my reason for being, realizing that I'm not going to live forever, it has that effect of saying, Sarah or whoever you are, you too are going to die someday, but what are you going to do with this moment when you're still breathing? And I chose to climb mountains because I love it, but I chose to use it for a purpose, to use it to make a difference in my world. And so I started the organization Summit with a Purpose, climbing mountains and using it to raise money for education. Through Summit with a Purpose, we've built about 16 libraries around South Africa. Started with Mandela libraries, which were physical books, and moved into digital libraries during COVID. And what is interesting is during COVID, I couldn't climb. So we actually used spinning. We broke the Guinness World Record with a friend, Cindy Van Veek, who's a cancer survivor, and used it to build libraries, at least one in every province in the country. The simple message for me is no one is coming to save us. The onus is on you and me to make a difference, to change our world while we're still breathing. And mountains teaches me that. It also teaches me that nobody gets to the top alone, but at the same time, not everybody can be your partner. There are those partners that you need to get you up to base camp and you need to let them go because you need other strategies, other partners to get you to the top. And when you're at the top, you realize that there's enough space for everybody. So why not reach down and pull someone else up with you? And that's what I do every day.
I'm quite interested, when I think about what both you and Angela have said, Sarah, that the moment that actually drew you to the mountain was this inner self-searching, wanting to answer and deal with, deep pain that you were dealing with at the time. Do you think is it about the healing nature of nature, that there's something about being out in nature, being one with nature, that just helps one get into a space that speaks to the depths of who they are, rather than anything else? I don't know, Sarah, what was your experience? Were you able to find you in the way that you were looking for yourself?
Absolutely, and much more, right? I think before I went in, there was this confusion of I'm successful because I've got a family, I've got kids, I've got a car, I'm a boss at work, I've got a house, and you suddenly realize, but is that really what success is? But when you get onto the mountain, you go, for example, Everest is 2 months, you realize that everything you need is actually in your backpack and in your duffel bags, and you can carry it with you. And you start realizing that being successful or richness is not what you collect along the way. It's who you are becoming and how much impact you're actually leaving behind or doing around you. That is important. I think when you're on the mountain and you realize that you can survive with practically very little, you appreciate a lot more. It's also about the fact that when you're on the mountain, it is dangerous, just like maybe the highway is dangerous because we do have accidents there. But you also appreciate the fact that when that avalanche comes, it doesn't discriminate that is it a woman, is it a male, or is it a black person or white person. It will wipe everybody around you. And my experience when I got onto Everest, especially in 2014, was that I was the only black female. The world that I was in around that time didn't think as a female I should be aiming for the top. Like, you got to base camp, you must be fine. And I suddenly realized that there's a world that explicitly thinks that as a black African woman, my ambitions should be that low, And I love Marianne Williamson, who says playing small does not save the world. So it became about representation more than anything else that I went onto the mountain for, more than education. I also believed that it's important for me to try not once, not twice, try 4 times until I got it right, so that those that come behind me, they don't have to be made to feel like they don't belong. Their ambition should end here. They must be given the benefit of the doubt that the rest of the world is given.
Angela, was it the same for you? Because you also began by telling us about just how, the personal journey you were on when you started.
Yes, exactly. I think, like Sarah says, a lot that the mountain can offer. I think being there in the moment, each step to get to where you are, it is very profound. And like sometimes you in the mountain for 4 weeks with no communications, and it's just you actually having that conversation with yourself, and you always ask yourself, why are you here? What is the reason? What is your why? So knowing the why, just keep you going.
We're going to continue the conversation with our 2 mountaineers. And when we continue, I want to talk about the life lessons, especially on dealing with failure, right? Sarah talks about the fact that she attempted Everest a number of times before she finally made it. Angela is going back to Everest in April, between April and June, right, Angela?
Yes.
And she's going to be taking on Everest. And we'll talk about some of the experiences and what they also mean for life in general, because there's so many lessons that I believe the mountain offers us. We're going to continue the conversation in a moment. It is now time for your latest news headlines. It's 10:30.
Thank you, Cathy. The news headlines on SAFM. I am Ondalambana, and a very good morning. A bank sheriff has been gunned down in Mahoro village outside Giani in Limpopo. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says a businessman is a suspect in the incident, which followed the repossession of a vehicle. The DA has called for the dissolution of the Johannesburg Water Board amid the latest water crisis in the city. Large parts of Johannesburg have been without water since Tuesday. And Apple and Google app stores have again made available the popular video-sharing app TikTok to U.S. consumers. The Chinese-owned app was taken down from the app stores. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 18 rand 39 to the dollar, 23 rand 13 to the pound, and 19 rand 26 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mainly higher at the closing bell. The JC mainly high in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are mixed this hour. Gold is trading at $2,935. Platinum $1,008 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $75.49 a barrel.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
Kilimanjaro by Jeff Maluleke there. We're speaking to some of our best female mountaineers in the country, getting to learn some of their lessons of the mountain and also the greater purpose, right, that they have both found and why it is that they now do what they do. Angela Young is in studio with me. Sarah Kumalo joining us via Zoom, I think it is, this morning. So, Angela, I want you to talk to me about just some of the life lessons you learn on the mountain. One of the things that I realized just with the journey of, walking with people who've been on the mountain, and I guess at the time when I was preparing to climb Kilimanjaro, is that everybody has different experiences, but also not everybody is going to reach the peak the first time or the second time or even the third time. So what are some of the lessons, life lessons, that you would say you've learned in this journey of you climbing mountains?
So 2023, I climbed Manaslu, and after the summit, the weather just changed like dramatically. When we came down, the rope was icy. I was holding on the glove, and in that second, I just fall from, I think, 10 meters. And I see the other climber going up, and they say, "What the F?" And they were frightened, see people are falling down. And the snow was just coming on my face, and you can feel that the cold was cutting through my mask. And my shepherd, because everybody after the summit, they just want to go.
Yeah.
So
they just want to get to the bottom.
Exactly.
And get on the earliest flight back home.
Yeah. And everybody just and I saw he was a few meters away from me. But like I couldn't move. My foot was, I could feel that pain just going through my bone. But and he says to me, you know what, here is 7,000 meters. It's no way the helicopter's going to come up. You need to go all the way down to 6,400 meters. And I have to push myself for another 8 hours to get to the second camp. It was really, you know, that moment, it's life and death. And that's what we are on the mountain. That's you have to dig deep to the bone to get yourself out of there, out of dangers. And then the next day, my feet was swollen like an elephant. And I couldn't put my boots on again. And they said, sorry, you know, just speak to the insurance company. And then I realized the insurance company, the service provider, they says, no, is there anything broken? And I said, I don't know. Is there anything broken there? Is there any blood? There's no blood, but my feet swollen like an elephant. So they refused to actually evacuate me. And that moment was, and I see everybody in the camp, all my other fellow climbers leaving already. I was the only person left. And it was just, that's real, you know?
Yeah.
That's so real. And I'm so lucky that the operator company decided to, you know, no matter what happened, we just need to rescue you. So it was mind-blowing, you know, when you see when the accident happened. How do you actually make sure that you're okay?
And Angela, then here you are again, wanting to go to Everest. This is the part I don't understand. Hey, like here you are, putting your hand up and saying, "I'm going to Everest." Why?
It feels such a sense of missions, and I think now we are collecting 8,848 bras. We only got 6,000 right now, and I think I would like to leverage my climb to get more bras and get more awareness what's happening to those 2,700 women die from gender-based violence every year.
So you believe in it that much?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sarah?
Yeah.
Let me come to you and give you a chance to talk about some of the lessons that, you know, you've learned from the mountain.
Yeah, I think the mountain is full of lessons, leadership lessons, life lessons. One of the big ones for me is that giving up is never an option. If you're still breathing, there's still more that you can do. Even if yesterday you could do a full step, today do a half step in the right direction, because as long as you're breathing, you can still move. A lot of the bodies that are still on Everest, or the ones that lose their lives, it's when they stop, when they give up, then you literally freeze to death, so to speak. It's also about resilience. It's about failing forward. Nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. So if you look at my experience when whether it's 2014 when there was an avalanche that killed 16 Sherpas, or it's 2015 when there was an earthquake, it's knowing when to pull back in order to move forward, right? It's knowing that maybe this is not the right time for me. Let me come back. But not also learning all the positives and stuff that would help you in order to move forward. 2019, the 16th of May, when I finally summited and broke the record, was not success in isolation of all the attempts that I made. So I believe in resilience, not being stubbornly moving forward for the sake, without learning, without making sure that you're stronger for the next step. also for me, it's also about the importance of knowing that you and I are the backup plan for the next generation. No one is coming to save us. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're running the comrades, whether you're running a 42, if you can use your platform to make a difference, you should do that. Because the previous generation fought, and ensured that apartheid it came to an end. So what is our fight? Our great-grandchildren continuously going to celebrate the 9th of August, for example, because of the women of the 50s? Or is there something that we need to give to them to ensure that their world is much better, just like we're enjoying the benefits of what the previous generation had done? And I think that comes in many ways. It comes in the space that you are in, and it also comes in appreciating that everyone has got their own Everest. We all don't have to go and climb the actual mountain. We've got mountains that we need to climb. And it's important that we ensure that as we climb them, we pave the way for the next generation, especially the Black child. I'm passionate about Africa having the youngest population in the world. How are we going to make sure that they're not second-class citizens? It's by how much leadership we show them. This world needs leadership. It does, especially in our own backyard. And that becomes important. And mountain teaches you to lead yourself before you lead other people. Because everyone on that rope as you're going up is capable of bringing everybody down. Angela is talking about her falling down. If she was roped with other people, she probably would have brought them down. And somebody, I'm sure, whether it's the rope or the Sherpa, would have saved her because they were close to her. It's knowing that every step that we take has a ripple effect. So are we being intentional about it? One of the things that I say in closing is being a VIP in everything that we do, being visible, being intentional, and being present. When you are on the mountain, a crack in the ice can send you down a crevasse, and that's it. That ends you. So you have to be intentional with every step that you make. And even in life, we should actually be intentional because we take a lot for granted that tomorrow is another day. Says who? Because today may just be it. This minute may just be it.
Wow, thank you for sharing those very profound words with us, Sarah. It is also something that requires a lot of discipline because you don't just wake up today and decide, I'm climbing Everest. There's a process that needs to go into it. Angela, let's talk about the journey to prepare for Everest Base Camp.
Also thinking about, you learn from your mistakes and correct them, and learning from the people who has actually done it before, getting the research and speaking to the people. People are very generous actually with their knowledge and telling you, what, Angela, you need to do this because this is what I done before. It didn't work. And you find your own way to make it work for you. And training is intensive, from rock climbing, Westcliff stairs, hours and hours that we put in. And also like running. I hate running. I still need to run, and strengthen your body to be able to be in that situations, and perseverance. That those are the key points. Not just the physical way, getting ready for it, but, emotionally and many different ways to try to get to the top.
Sarah, what
Yes.
goes into it? The discipline, the preparation?
A lot. I think it's important to realize that there are sacrifices that need to be made financially, in terms of time. One of the big things that I did for years, especially when I was in corporate, is I left home at 5. I only got into the office at 8. So between 6 and 7:30 was my training time, and 30 minutes I shower and I get into the office. And I made sure everybody knew, including my PA, that I didn't take any meetings before 8. when my friends were changing cars and doing whatever, I couldn't because I didn't have sponsorships. I had to channel the funds to this because it was that important to me. I think if something is important to you, you need to sacrifice, whether it's time. When I did holidays, yes, we would go maybe to, Mauritius as others would, but we do the Drakensberg because then I'm going to, go up and down that mountains and, my kids can still stay in the lodge somewhere. So it requires sacrifice. It requires clarity on why you're doing it. Because if you are not clear, as Angela mentioned, about why you're doing it, it's difficult to sacrifice. It's difficult to take that next step. So I'm currently actually training to finish the Explorers Grand Slam. I have to train differently.
What is the Explorers Grand Slam? Tell us what the Explorers Grand Slam is.
So the Explorers Grand Slam is a challenge to climb the 7 highest peaks on the 7 continents around the world, which I've done. Skiing to the South Pole, which I've done. I'm remaining with skiing to the North Pole, which I'm doing in April. And there are only 73 people in the world that have done that. And none of them look like me. And so it's really about the commitment. Now I'm doing this. This is not Everest. I'm going to ski. So I need to figure out how to manage the cold in that environment, how I'm going to ski. So you pull a sled, so I must pull tires. So I change my training based on what I need to do. When we train, especially for Everest as an example, it's 70% in your mind and 30% your physical training. But the more physically prepared you are, the more mentally prepared you become, because you're kind of calmed down because you know that you've got this, you've done the work. Now you need to leave the rest to the elements. And when your physical ability tells you that you can't take that next step, it's your, mindset that will say you can. It's the reason why you're there that will say that just take that half a step and you can do it. And it's very much possible.
Both of you have touched on how expensive it is to do this, right? Climbing mountains, at least not the type that, are photographed in what is this, in these tourism ads or that are spoken about the world over. Again, it's not just something that you wake up and you decide you want to do. Often you find people, when they climb, they also are climbing for a cause. They're raising money for all sorts of different reasons. Speak to me about the marriage of those things, Angela, and how, as an individual, then you also manage it from your end.
From my end, the difficulty of getting sponsors is it's a big thing. So for me, I felt like I actually self-funded a lot, most of the expeditions to get to now. I'm able to go and climb Everest. I think so. Like Sarah was saying, it's a lot of sacrifice of not going to going to holidays, but actually doing your hike. And you need to gauge it, what is important for you, to prioritize and even compartmentalize what is right now. It's important, and to get to where you are. And I think it's also a strategy. So you have the mindset of strategize. This is the things that you wanted to do, how you get there. Every steps get to where closer to your goal. That's a lot of lessons that I actually have learned through this climb. And also, like I said to you, we are busy collecting bras. So to getting the numbers, it's important. And to see how significant is that.
What does it take to get people to believe in a cause in the way that you believe in it? And does it make a difference when, even if you're, as you've said, you are wanting to collect X amount of bras for all of these young women that you work with that come from disadvantaged communities? Does it make a difference when you say, I'm climbing Everest and I'm raising bras, or if you just rock up and you say, well, I'm fundraising bras, do you get different type of attention?
Yes, because especially when we go to the base camp, so I actually lay out all these bras at the base camp, and some of the climbers will come up to me and say to me, "What is this for?" And when I told them this is the reason I'm climbing, and you will see all the other female climber will actually come here and help me to put out the bras, and just I think it is awareness, and then they come from 78 countries, so people around the world, they're also facing that type of problems, and we come together and and really open up, and that is awareness. That is an impact.
Sarah?
Can I just add to that? I think what is important is to realize that if you go and say, I'm raising money for this cause, a lot of the corporates want to know what's in it for me, right? But if I say, I'm actually going to take your brand to the top of the world, I'm going to take a picture that you can use in your marketing stuff, that's something back to them. I'm doing it for an NGO, you get a Section 18A certificate. Unfortunately, that's where the world is, as opposed to me going to say, I've got a begging bowl and this is what I'm asking, and there's nothing in it for you. There is donor fatigue. There's so many other problems. How are you being creative in order to make sure that there's awareness of the problem? Display the bras, create the talkability, put it on social media, no matter how much in love or not in love with social media you are. It creates awareness. It also conscientizes people to say, yes, there's many problems, but I see that. Let me support that. It reminds them that this problem is there and they can do something about it. As simple as, let me just take off a bra that I can put in the bin tomorrow and let me give it to somebody else because I could change their lives. Why? Because Angela put up a bra at base camp because she talked about it. I think there's a difference between me just going to ask for money and me saying, I'm asking for money and this is what I have in exchange for the money that you're going to do, or you're going to give for this specific cause.
Sure. It sounds like there's a lot of thinking that needs to go into it and creating that talkability. And it is unfortunate, right, that when it comes to doing good, there's always that element of what's in it for me, for corporates. Because one, I think, you're sitting with budgets of millions and millions, and you should... that impetus to give back to some of the, and help deal with some of the challenges in society, that should be coming more naturally or even more organically. I've got one question here from our listeners who is keen to start mountain climbing, and they want to know, how can they start? Angela, do you want to answer that?
I think just like simple hike, just going for a simple hike. That's how we start. We all start from I don't even know how to spell Kilimanjaro when I climb Kilimanjaro. So, so there's always the things that you start something small and then you build it up and knowing your reason. And that will get to where you are.
Sarah, as we get ready to wrap up this conversation, what would you like to leave our listeners with? Is there anything that you want to touch on that we haven't in this hour?
Well, we've touched on so many things, but I think for me, what is important is to remind everybody that we all have our Everest, and we are the backup plan for the next generation, and we need to make a difference where we are. And once we make it in one way or another, remembering to give back, put your hand down and pull someone else up with you. Ubuntu, that's what it's all about.
Lovely. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. You heard that, eh? She's climbed all 7 highest peaks on every continent. And now she's going to go skiing. She says she skied on the north. Now she's skiing in the south. Is she still on the line? Sarah?
Yes.
Sarah, are you also going to conquer that mountain there by Mudimolle, the one on the way to Limpopo, on the way to Polokwane?
Why not? Are you inviting me?
The one that
I'm
they
in.
say, the one that they say swallows people. I want to see something.
Well, I've done the 9 highest peaks in the 9 provinces around South Africa. But if you are inviting me, absolutely, I'm always there.
Thanks, Sarah. No, please don't go on that one. I cannot be held liable for what may or may not happen. Angela, anything you want to add before we wrap up this conversation? Maybe what you want to say to our listeners.
Please follow my journey, and also we need some donations, not just asking for donation. I think just making a difference. And every 25 rand is a new bra for the girl child. Please support our campaign, Empower Her campaign, as follow www.impilofoundation.org.
Wonderful. We wish you all of the best, Angela. April is just around the corner. When do you leave?
Around the 20th.
20th of April.
Yes.
And you're back?
Back in 2 months' time, so around June.
Okay. Well, we wish you all of the best, and we'll keep in touch to see how it goes with your journey.
Thank you.
Ladies, thank you so much for coming onto the show and for sharing your stories and giving us snippets really into part of your lives. So inspirational, right? And you heard Angela. Oh, you know, that heart-wrenching stories, like if you've watched those movies, you can just see the scenario she was talking about. And yet, here we do it again. She's going again. Maybe it's climbing mountains is like an active therapy session, ne? It's a continuous counseling. I'm sure there's something not right. I'm sure there needs to be a full diagnosis of everybody that climbs mountains. Well, you're all really so inspiring, and we thank you for your time and your contributions this morning. All right, let's take a quick break, and then it'll lead us into the 11 o'clock news.
These are the weekend shows on SAFM. Music of Africa with Shayla Ndikumana. The Jet Set Breakfast with Michelle Constant. Seasons with Khomotso KG Mweketsi. The soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay. Weekend Soundowner Classics with Kutlwano Masote. Spotlight with Zai Khan. The Weekend with John Gerika. Rhythm of Africa with Shayla Ndikumana. This is SAFM.
The year has kicked off, and if you're like most people, you've spent more time researching resolutions than actually starting. Gym, meal prep, meditation, still deciding. Luckily, getting your car covered online with Santam is faster than picking a resolution to stick to. It only takes 2 minutes to switch. Visit santam.co.za. Santam, this is freedom.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news at 11, a sheriff of the court killed in Limpopo, and TikTok returns to Apple App Store and Google. For SAFM News, I'm Ondalambana, and a very good morning. A sheriff of the court has been gunned down in Makoro village outside Giani in Limpopo. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says a businessman is a suspect in the incident, which followed the repossession of a vehicle. The identity of the sheriff will be released after the next of kin has been informed. An investigation into the incident is underway. The DA has called for the dissolution of the Johannesburg Water Board amid the latest water crisis in the city. Large parts of the Johannesburg have been without water since Tuesday. This is due to a power failure which disrupted pumping at the Mfuleni substation at Randwater's Forest Hill and Eikenhof pump stations. Randwater has attributed their supply disruptions to demand exceeding capacity. Tyrell Meyers is the DA's Johannesburg member of the MEL Committee for Environment and Infrastructure Services.
Residents have again woken up in the last few days to no water, and we are also deeply concerned by the absenteeism of the Executive Mayor, Dada Moreira, and the MMC for EISD, Mr. Councillor Jack Sekwele. 80% of the city of Johannesburg is literally without water. It cannot go on. And this whole process and disaster could have been mitigated better had there been better communication. So we need competent people in the Johannesburg Water Board to oversee this.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has highlighted the importance of the African Union Summit, which will take place in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa this weekend. He says it will take place at a time where Africa is grappling with instability. Peace and security on the continent will top the agenda of the summit, which Ramaphosa will attend. There will be a special focus on the crisis in the eastern DRC, where 14 South African soldiers were killed in fighting between M23 rebels and the Congolese military. Ramaphosa says South Africa will continue to pursue peace in Africa.
The meeting of the Assembly of the African Union is extremely important, particularly at this point in time when there are so many issues to be addressed, challenges, particularly conflicts on our continent. West Africa is going through a challenging time as well, with coups that have happened in a number of countries. The Sudan is going through enormous challenges, with many people who have died and been displaced.
Apple and Google app stores have again made available the popular video sharing app TikTok to U.S. consumers. The Chinese-owned app was taken down from the app stores. This after temporarily ceasing operations in the U.S. to comply with the regulation requiring TikTok's parent company ByteDance to divest from the platform or risk a ban on the 19th of last month. Hours later, TikTok resumed service, but users were unable to download it from the app stores. The BBC's Mariko Oi has the details.
US lawmakers were concerned TikTok could be used by the Chinese government as a tool for spying and political manipulation. The accusations Beijing and TikTok repeatedly denied. Congress passed a law to have it banned unless its US assets were sold, but President Trump signed an executive order to grant a 75-day extension to comply. According to Bloomberg News, the decision to resume its availability came after Apple and Google received assurances from the Trump administration that they would not be held liable and the ban wouldn't be enforced yet.
Florists in Durban are buzzing with customers who have been arriving from early this morning to buy fresh flowers for their loved ones on Valentine's Day. Some customers say they will not allow the tough economic times to render the day insignificant.
This is for my daughter. She's 11 years old, and I've been doing this since she was 2. So like every Valentine's Day, I'll get her something, make it special for her, because obviously her dad's the first love of her life, right?
This is the 5th year with my lovely fiancée, so I thought today, let me surprise her and get her these flowers. I'm not used to this, but I thought this year is the year because we're celebrating the 5th year.
Recapping the top story, a sheriff of the court has been gunned down in Mahoro village outside Giani, Limpopo. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says a businessman is a suspect in the incident which followed the repossession of a vehicle. I am Undalambana for SFM News headlines at 11:30.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
Singimboni zolo edlula ngasekhaya ehamba nabangani bakhe kwavele kwajama ingqondo ngaphathwa nayikhanda kwangathi ngiyasangana webantu ake nishoni nake nayibona into enje. abantu abadala ake ningixoxe yake yakhona into enjena mandulo lo sisi angimazi ngishika kodwa enhlizweni usegcwele webantu ngitsheleni yake yakhona into enjena ngamthanda umuntu qala nokumbona ngamthanda umuntu ulove somalobola ngamthanda umuntu qala nokumbona ngamthanda umuntu
I think our producers were very strategic about our guest today. You know, they figured it's Valentine's Day, and he broke out into the scene with this particular one, Ngamthanda Umuntu, from The Language of Love. It was all the way back in 2015, but so much has changed since then. Linda, good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time on the Talking Point today.
Morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about what that song did for your career. It's one of those love anthems in South Africa. You know those songs that you attend a wedding, a bridal shower, a baby shower.
Yeah.
This song is going to be part of the playlist.
Definitely. This song, Swami, it means everything. Kumina, as Linda Cwenza, Nagui career because it's a song that made me. Before, people knew me as a songwriter from writing songs for other artists, but they knew this song first. So it's made me the Linda that I am. You won't believe, man, even today, I still get booked for weddings, for anniversaries, for corporate gigs, just for this song. I've released like 2 albums after this album.
Nobody's interested. They're like, we want you to sing that one.
Yes. Even if they do love those songs, I perform them, they do sing along. But this one, once I start singing this one, it's like, okay, now you're talking. So it's really like everything to me, if I can put it that way.
There is something about South Africans, right? We love love, and we love the idea of love and romance, don't we? And you see it in the songs that we love, especially. I think that our music is what says a lot about us.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed ukuthi abantu, every time I release some music, they will always talk about that exactly. They will always be expressing things that really proves ukuthi people still believe in love. People still admire love. We're going to go with this times, this Pilak age, the love industry has become very complicated due to a lot of things. Our beliefs, the way we see things as people. So it has complicated the pureness.
Uti, the love
Yes,
industry
ma'am.
has done
Yes,
what?
it's an industry on its own now. It's an industry on its own.
Oh no, I wasn't ready for that. Yeah, so the love industry has become complicated.
Very much complicated.
Mm.
Very much.
And what does that mean for you as a musician who also, of course, produces some love songs?
Lately, you know, when I came in, the first album was titled Language of Love. I wanted to be that guy who always writes about the positive side of relationships, you know, motivational side, motivating people, giving people hope about love, being in relationships, how beautiful love is and stuff. That's why that album was Language of Love. It was all about happy moments in love and stuff like that. But lately, if you listen to the latest albums I've been writing, you will notice that now I'm starting to talk about the hardships in relationships, things that are not actually nice in relationships. It's because of what is happening now. So I've been pushed to adapt to know, let me also talk about this side, this negative side of love, because I've seen this is what is happening, so I can't ignore it. I have to also cater for those people who are going through hard times kuma relationships, you know. But kuthiwa bayagowa ngokwelanguage yamanje, so I have to cater for those.
Mjolo the
Yes,
pandemic.
unfortunately. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of them about Goa, so I can't keep celebrating those that percentage happy and ignore the majority that seems to be going, because it seems like the majority is going.
No, that can't be true, Linda. do you think the majority is going through it? I don't think so.
That's what people are portraying, especially on social media. They are portraying the side of them going. I get less of those who are celebrating love, enjoying love, you know. Usubona mangabe ngibizwa emshadweni, it's okay, people are still, you know, embracing love. But when you see around you and see on social media, it seems like everyone is crying about love.
And
so I'm saying that from that, not necessarily what it's true. It's just my point of view from what I'm seeing around. It seems people are going. Yeah.
I hear you completely, and understand. I understand what you're saying, because I see it all the time on social media too. Now, you, of course, write a lot of music, not only for yourself. You've written really beautiful songs for other artists. How much of that writing is informed, Linda, by your experiences? What is the place that you have to go into to actually write and produce songs in the way that you do?
Sure. Actually, there is no place that I have to go to for me to write any song. Songs just come from the experiences that I encounter, from the experiences that you might be encountering. Maybe you are sharing a story with me, something that happened to you. Maybe I'm sitting and watching a movie, and then I'm like, no, I want to talk about this, you know. So there's no moment where, okay, now I have to sit here, now I have to do this, now I have to go here because I want to write this song. It can be everything. There is this story I always like to share to indicate to people actually how does every song come. Songs can come in different ways. I always want to talk about how I wrote that song by the late Robbie Malinga and Umusa, the Mthande song. When that song came, I was in Benoni, a lakeside mode somewhere. I was very miserable. There was a lot going on in my mind. You know, when you are stressed in such a way that you find yourself talking alone. You know, it was like I'm somewhere where there is no one else. So I'm looking at this couple, following this couple. They are very happy. You know, this lovey-dovey kind of a behavior. They were jollying in front of me, like, you know, they were so much happy. When the song starts, it says, Umbambe ngesandla, because that's the first thing I saw. Bebabambe nizandla. And then the next thing, it's like the lady is whispering something, guy, and then they all laugh, bayahagana, you know, all of that while they are going. I ended up following this couple up until they got into the car, Uma Parkins. Because I was so glued to this thing, it was like a movie, you know, it's like I was hypnotized to this thing, Abayenzai. So you can see and you can tell from there, Tuguti, I didn't have to go anywhere. I just found myself glued to this thing, and then it sparked the song, Gumina. So it can be any kind of experience, anything that might be happening, a song. So it's not like I have to be at a certain mood or certain environment for me to write a song.
I tell you what, we'll appreciate it a bit more now that we have the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Specsavers now looks after your hearing as well as your vision with Specsavers Audiology. With 60 stores and counting, we are South Africa's largest audiology group. For a limited time only, buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. Find your nearest store at specsavers.co.za. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply. In the Arena is a docu-series that takes an in-depth look at the life and career of the legendary tennis player Serena Williams, offering a behind-the-scenes glimpse into her journey, both on and off the court. It explores her rise to tennis dominance, challenges, and personal experiences. Do not miss out on a great story of incredible impact. Catch In the Arena on Saturdays at 3 p.m. on SABC3. Alternatively at 9 p.m. on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 on Saturdays and Thursdays. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Mangaung Metro Municipality is hosting an investment summit to bring investment to Bloemfontein. The summit will take place on 19 and 20 February at the City Hall and aims to bring together different economic role players from across the country and abroad. To be part of the summit or for more info, call 073 184 8972 or send an email to summit@mangaung.co.za. Mangaung, at the heart of it all.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
We continue the conversation with Linda Gwensa, who is our guest this Friday morning on the Wind Down, and he's speaking to us about his journey. You heard there, Tande by Musa and Musa and Robbie Maling, and that was one of the songs that he was talking about. I must say, Linda, did the couple ever know what that moment did for you, and the fact that their love effectively has been celebrated by people not just in this country but in other parts of the world?
I wish I could meet those guys again, because they didn't even see me. I only saw them. I don't know them up until today. I wish I can meet them and just to explain what their love story has done in South Africa and even outside, as you say. Because even today, that song became also a national anthem. People were celebrating their love through that song, they didn't know. I've never met them also. I just wish they can, maybe bayakumbula, if they hear, if they listen, bayakumbula, so no, maybe this is us.
You're going to have a lot of people coming up with different stories of it being them, eh? Linda, and I guess that's what you mean when you say that inspiration comes sort of from anywhere for you. I'm just looking at the past year. Your music has been streamed over 1 million times. On Spotify alone. You have been able to increase the number of listeners that you have, just to the tune of 296,000. What is it you think people like about your music? What do you think keeps them drawn to you?
From what they've been telling me through social media, my comments, when I read their comments from things that I post every time I release some music, maybe it's a single or an album, there's this one thing that always stands out from their comments. Oh, good Linda, your way of putting a story together, your storyline, and the selection of words that you use when you write your music. You have a tendency of saying a very simple thing, something that we always hear. But when you say it through your music, it always feels like it's the first time hearing this thing. For example, if I can't sleep at night, I'm thinking about you, I'm going to put it in a way that makes them feel like it's the first time I'm being told something like this. So I would say maybe it's the creativity that God gave me from my talent, the selection of words, selection of melodies and stuff, and being able to lay a very clear storyline of what this song is about. So it makes it easy for you to relate with the song because it's very clear where is the song going, what is it all about. It's easy for you to memorize your experiences, to link it with what you are going through. So I think that's what highlights my music kubantu, so that they love it so much.
If I think about the language of love, which we touched on a little earlier, that you released in 2015 as your debut album. It's been 10 years. Yes. Can you believe it? 10 years since then, right?
Time flies. Time flies. Yeah.
Time really does fly. And when you look at your journey in the industry between now and then, perhaps just share some of the lessons and maybe even some of the experiences that you've been on in this decade.
There's actually few things that I've learned and then that I've experienced. Firstly, my experiences. There's been moments where things really been difficult. When we all sitting at home, watching the TV, looking at the music industry, we get a very different perspective of the music industry as a whole. This perspective of thinking it's just a fleshy, soft life kind of a lifestyle. When you are an artist, everything is just nice. You have money, you're living big, That's what we get. That's what is being sold to us. But when you come into the music industry now, that's when you see, things are actually very much different. So that transition of you understanding that I thought everything was just going to be like a freeway, green light. Now you are here, and then you start to struggle. You start to see things in a very different eye. It's an experience on its own. Oh, there's something disturbing me now from my throat. So sorry for that. So I've had a very much difficult experience when things were not going the way I thought they were.
Yeah,
gonna be going.
That's fine.
Yes.
Let me give you a chance to catch your breath there. In fact, we're edging towards the 11:30 news. Our guest, our Friday wind down guest, is Afro-pop musician, producer, songwriter. His name is Linda, and you can hear he's given us some of Mzansi's hits, and I did say earlier, so timelessly crafted by our producers to have him on Valentine's Day when he is behind the love song anthems, some of the love song anthems that we enjoy so much as a country. We'll continue the conversation with Linda. It's now 11:30. Time for your latest news headlines.
Thank you, Cathy. In the news headlines, the Gauteng Education Department has dismissed allegations that it promised to build over 4,000 satellite schools across the province. It is responding to Democratic Alliance's allegation related to overcrowding at schools. A sheriff of the court has been gunned down in Mahoro village outside Giyani, Limpopo. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says a businessman is a suspect in the incident, which followed the repossession of a vehicle. And Johannesburg Water Systems are in recovery phase after a power outage at the Mfuleni substation, which supplies power to Rand Water's Vereeniging water treatment plant. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Defending champions are eager to display a top-class brand of football to emphasize why they are Wienerkusen, while the Bavarians are confident this is their season. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the Battle of Giants, Bayer Leverkusen FC versus Bayern München FC on Saturday, 15 February at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours, make a difference.
Jazz lovers, the wait is over. Africa's grandest gathering returns on the 25th to the 26th of April at the Cape Town International Convention Center. Experience 2 nights of soul-stirring jazz, electrifying collaborations, and over 30 world-class artists across 4 iconic stages. Don't miss this unforgettable musical experience. Get your tickets now at ticketmaster.co.za. Brought to you by Independent Media, proud media partner of the Cape Town International Jazz Festival.
The Buccaneers want to demonstrate that they are the reigning champions and nothing will stop them from marching on to the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Bakaha have a different game plan to return to Hampatele with happy faces. This is the Nedbank Cup Last 16. Orlando Pirates FC tackles Baroka FC. This Saturday, 15 February at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and at 3 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Celebrating our music heritage right here on the Friday Wind Down.
Ngikulandlela yothando ngifuna umuzwa wothando uma bekwenzeka kabe ngishiya phansi manje inhliziyo izifunelo kwayo sengizamile kaningi nengithandane nabo baningi kodwa ngifiki emathandweni sengizamile kaningi nengijole nabo baningi kodwa ngifiki emathandweni emathandweni ungaze uphenduke ujike ubuyele emuva 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 sibane Basiwa sivuka nje kodwa sinethemba soze sifike mathandwe abanye bethu banemizi today babala iminyaka beshadile kodwa lutho kaze bafike mathandwe abanye babo the life they live it's not really what they projected benzela thina ukuze singabajaji bakhala njalo behind the scenes bafisa ngabe basingili engiyakutshela kukude mathandwe
Kukude emathandweni, and it is part of his upcoming album. Linda is our guest for this morning. Linda, why is love far, far away? It's a direct translation for somebody who is not Nguni, but it's my understanding of what you're saying. Why is love so far, far away?
It used to be very easy and just here next to us. But these days, no. Actually, the song says finding true love. It's a very scarce thing these days. So that's why I'm actually saying you have to really travel a very long walk to freedom for you to find true love these days. Some of us, they have been on the journey of love and they've given up along the way and then they return back home because it's like you go and where you think now, okay, I've found love. A few months down the line, you realize, no, actually, I haven't found anything. So the song, it's actually about the hardships of finding true love, how difficult it is these days to find true love. People are dating, bayajola, kodwa when you really get into their relationship, you can tell who's no. Someone is here for his or her own agenda. Omunye ula for agenda. It's really no more about love these days. So this is how this song came about, actually.
And I guess you looking and observing society in that way felt that maybe you must sing something that will encourage people on the journey, to say, don't worry, you're not alone. You're not the only one who is struggling. You're not the only one who feels like it's out of reach.
Yeah, the second verse of that song, I'm actually including myself. Kulabantu laba who are in the journey trying to find love, but things are not happening. The second verse says, there is a lot of us who are in this journey and we all haven't found love, but we still hoping ukuthi one day we will get there. There are other songs that I have that are more of like encouragement and motivation. Guys, let us not give up on love. Love is there around us. And sometimes I always feel like we have, as I said before, we have complicated love. Love has always been there. And it's still a beautiful thing that it used to be. It's us who have destroyed it, contaminated it ngama beliefs zethu with the trends. We zonke lezi zinto ezenzakala, we have contaminated love, but love has always been there. It's still there.
I hear you, Linda. I hear you. Not giving up. You've just gotta stay in the game. Paki, you're
Yeah.
calling us from Cape Town. Good morning to you.
Awumthanda umuntu wakho, not only on the Valentine's Day, kodwa njalo. That's free of charge. It's a remix. Now, that's not the reason why I called.
Linda, I warned you this was going to happen. Just remember,
Linda!
but just hang on.
Linda,
Paki.
I want to claim my space. Kathy and South Africa, Mzansi, whoever is listening, I'm claiming my space. The couple Linda saw, you mean nomuntu wami? Ubone mina nomuntu wami.
What date was it?
Kathy, no, it's fine. It's my secret. Kathy, thank you very much.
Paki, tell us where were you? You and your person. Where were you? Akiri, you've come to claim your space, as you say it.
No,
Where were you?
I'm gonna have to check on my diary.
No.
I'm joking. I'm joking, Caesar. I'm joking, Kathy. I'm joking, Mzansi. What I'm trying to say is that we appreciate music, Caesar. You know, as I'm listening to his music, you know, he's not far from the Giselle brothers. He's really not far, but that's not about it. What I'm trying to say, Mina, here in closure is that we thank you, Putiman. Thank you very much. When I was saying, thank you for reminding that us. In fact, you just introduced something earlier on. You said this love is now becoming industry. Oh my word!
You said the industry of love is now complicated.
How complicated it is. Yeah. Hey, but now let me leave it because I know there's still more who are in the queue now. They want to claim their space. What I mean, I still, so I'll check. But Kathy, thank you very much for gracing our day with this gentleman. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, Paki. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
From Cape Town.
Well, thank you for giving us a good laugh there, Paki, out in Cape Town. So let's talk about then your upcoming album, Linda, and just what it is that your fans and those that love your music can expect from it.
Actually, this song that was playing, it came out from the last album I released. Remember, I said after that Language of Love, I've released 2 albums. I haven't been focusing much on myself as an artist, you know, releasing music often. Even if I'm releasing an album, but I didn't focus much on, you know, the marketing and stuff because I've been mostly on the writing side of the music industry, you know, behind the scenes, making sure I keep writing songs for other artists. So right now, I'm focusing on myself as an artist. So I'm going to be releasing more music. This song that just played, Gugu Tematandweni, it's on the last album that I released last year. Last year. And then now I'm working on an EP that's going to be coming around end of May, July. It's going to be coming around there. So this is not an upcoming album. It's just an EP that is on the pipeline from now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that correction as well. And for that one, are you going with the theme of love? Are you staying true to character, or are we going to have to expect something completely different?
I'm always going to be around the love. My music, it's always going to be about love. It might not be about love like romantically between 2 people. It might be love between a mother and daughter, a mother, a father and son, you know. But as long as it's all about love, you know, friendship love, family love, romantic love, everything. I'm all about promoting and talking about issues that we face in the love industry, as I said.
And now when you produce music, of course, you are able to do it with an idea of what works, right? Do you think that is there a formula, at least from your view, as a songwriter, as a producer, is there a formula that if a song has this and that, you know it's going to be a hit. And I'm asking you this because you've produced hits, not only for yourself, but for other musicians too.
For me, what I always pay attention to is the message in a song. I believe, Uguti, you have to talk or sing about something that people will relate to. Once people are able to relate to your song, then definitely that song's gonna be loved. Number two, I always pay attention to I always pay attention to how long will the song last. I'm trying by all means to write a song that will always be relevant. Yeah, if I can put it that way. I want to write music that will always be relevant. Like today, we play old school music. It's still relevant even today. You know, I try by all means. I don't want to write a song that you will enjoy for 2 months, and then after 2 months, when the song comes on, it plays, and then you're like, hey, can you play the next song? I'm trying by all means not to write those kinds of music. There is no formula for writing. There is no formula for producing music. But if you have people in your head while you produce music, I don't want to produce music or write music for myself. I want to write music for people. So always be familiar with what is happening around. Always be familiar with what people are going through, what people are experiencing. For me, as I write about love, I have to be very much observant of what people are going through, go love life, so that I will always be relevant to what they are experiencing my relationships with.
All right, Linda.
And I believe that will keep me relevant all the time.
And making timeless music, I think, is always such a challenge for different artists, right? Because even if one sets out to create timeless music, it's not always the case. But look at us 10 years on, playing your song on the radio like it was literally released just, 2 months ago. That's how relevant it still is. So we're going to bring you more.
And it feels like a blessing to me.
Oh, wow. That's so lovely. Thank you, Linda. We're going to bring you more of Linda's music.
The Friday Wind Down. Kick off your weekend the right way.
Zokuthanda noma bonke bengathandi ngizokushada noma bethi khanda lithathi abazi uyenzani inhliziyo yami zokunaka noma bethi anginamali ngizoyiphala noma bethi anginakariaba uyenzani inhliziyo yami ukuthi ngiyathanda iyo lento edinabaningi bayafisa nabo kodwa akulungi that's why benomona ngavuthungo wami iyo lento edinabaningi bayafisa nabo kodwa akulungi that's why benomona ngathi baby awayekela abantu bangithethe wena themba mina ngoba ngiyazi uyenzani inhliziyo yami ngathanda wena kubo bonke enhlizweni yami uyikho konke abazi uyenza inhliziyo ukuthi ngiyathanda iyo lento thina abaningi bayafisa nabo kodwa akulungi that's why they're no more that's why they're no more ukuthi ungowami iyo lento thina abaningi bayafisa nabo kodwa akulungi that's why they're no more banamoti ukuthi ngiyathanda mina ngakhetha abaningi bayafisa nabo kodwa akulungi that's why they're
You see, Linda, you're turning our WhatsApp line into a Valentine's Day dedication line. People are wishing their loved ones happy Valentine's Day. Shout out to my this and to my that. Happy Valentine's Day. We're getting ready to wrap this conversation up, and I want to give you a chance, Linda, to talk about some of your upcoming performances and also where people can expect to see you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm doing a lot of my events now. I think people have just indicated to me, Linda, we need more of you on stage. We really enjoy you on stage. So for now, I would advise people to pay a very close attention to my social media, because that's where I'm going to be. We are working on the dates now. But currently, I'm going to be in Drankensberg performing somewhere. There's some conferences there. There's my event that's coming up in Mpumalanga. It's going to be in March, in August, Women's Month. So it's going to be a very big one. I'm encouraging Jabantu from that side. Oguti basondele on social media, because I think next week, Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to be releasing a poster with details of that event. And then there is more of weddings. I do weddings a lot, guys. So most of my performances every Saturday are weddings. So I cannot disclose those ones, Oguti where and where. But mostly, I'm gonna be doing a lot of my events. So keep your eyes locked to my social media so that you know where am I, when, and what are the details.
And I guess they can also book you, right? Book you for their weddings.
Yes.
And
yes,
their surprise engagements.
Exactly.
Anniversary celebrations, Valentine's Day celebrations. One of our listeners says,
I'm available for all kinds of events. Weddings are like my playgrounds. I'm always booked to my weddings. That's where bengithanda khona kakhulu. And they want that ngamthanda umuntu song. And this song that you just played now, hey, it's really making people go mad. It's like it wants to replace the ngamthanda umuntu song. I'm demanded to
it's a
sing
beautiful
and perform that
ballad.
song.
It's a beautiful
Yes.
ballad. One of our listeners
So people
says,
can book me
go
for
ahead.
their events. I'm available. If you check on my social medias, you will see all the booking details there. And I've been looking for you. I can't find you. Understand because there's a WhatsApp number there, there's email, there's calls number on all of my social media platforms. So I don't think anyone should struggle to actually get hold of me.
Fantastic. Linda, thank you so much for coming on to the show and for being in conversation with us for the last hour. One of our listeners says, and this perhaps is the message as we round up the Friday wind down edition on Valentine's Day. Hey, Zelma is so sour. Somebody please send Zelma some flowers, man. Leave them at reception, man. Hey, she's just like, she's so over all of this. No, I think just even a rose will be able to change her disposition right now. One of our listeners says, Cathy, I don't agree that love is a complicated thing. People are complicated, and my worry is lots of people will today use that as an excuse when they mess up their relationships. We live in a world where people, as a rule, don't want to take responsibility and blame everything on other people, situations, or circumstances. Love is a beautiful thing, and let's not mess it up. So, Linda, love is a beautiful
Yes.
thing. Let's not mess it up. And we wish you all the best in love. I can't wait for your I Have Found Love album. I think that one is going to be the one, hey?
Okay. I think you've just gave me an idea now.
All right, Linda, have a good weekend.
It's gonna come.
That's what we
Thank you
leave
so
it
much.
on the Friday
Thank you so
wind
much
down.
for the opportunity, and thanks to the listeners. Guys, love yourself, love your partners, enjoy love, celebrate love. Love is a beautiful thing. Let us all be celebrating love. Singaxabani, singali bafowethu. Thank you so much to SAFM and the Wind Down show. I truly appreciate this opportunity.
Wonderful. That's where we leave it on the Friday wind down. It brings to a wrap the talking point for the week. Show back with you Monday morning. Have a lovely weekend, and I hope that you get spoiled. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Kubobo engingazwana nabo kukhona loye ongaphumi kimi nhlobo angazi noma kusewuthando noma sekungamabo lento yangikhathaza ngoba nomunye manje uyisona simnandi empilweni yami esihogweni ngiyongena nga ulithithila uyisona simnandi empilweni yami lendi yangikhathaza ngoba nomunye manje just a high from you can change it all, change it all. Noma ngabe bengenzani ngishiya go, ayangikhona ukuzenzisa angikhona ukuziba lenti yangikhatha ngoba nomunye manje kuyacaca impela nguwoyo vula lunyangesokwe ngiyabona
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
12 o'clock on Friday, the 14th of February 2025. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SAFM. Leading the conversation, I'm Sakina Kamwendo. Coming up in the next hour.
This process started 6 months ago. We have expected people to hit the call, but we are South Africans, we always wait for the last moment. I think it's important for people not to wait for the 28th of February.
Well, SASSA beneficiaries, especially the elderly and disabled, have raised concern about long queues in their quest to replace their gold cards. And
my advice for anyone listening is to buy for the men in your life. They like to feel loved and appreciated too. We're seeing a change in trends to women really going out of their way to spoil men on Valentine's Day.
John, don't ever say we didn't do anything for you. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you so much.
So what's coming up in sport?
Chelsea are still on their winter break down on the south coast of England. We'll bring you details about another banana skin for them. Nedbank Cup continues, and there are 3 one-day internationals to tell you about.
Yeah, just for control, he brought nothing. Not a single rose, nothing. Not even a lollipop. Anyway, John Gericke will have the sports news for us in the second half of the show. Please share your views with us. 41391 is the SMS line number. Charge at 150 per SMS. You can also write to us via X at SABC News_radio or send us a WhatsApp voice note on 0826923909. And these and more stories coming up on this Friday Valentine's Day edition of Update at Noon. First, though, the latest news with Mohlahlana.
Thank you, Sakin. In the top stories, Gauteng Education refutes claims of satellite schools and Joburg water systems in recovery phase. For SAFM News, I am Mohlahlana, and a very good day. The Gauteng Education Department has dismissed allegations that it has failed to fulfill its promise to build over 4,000 satellite schools across the province. The department is responding to the Democratic Alliance's allegation related to the overcrowding at schools. The department spokesperson Steve Mabona says some satellite schools have already started operating, while others will be completed by June.
As a department, we must correct the assertion that we said we will build over 4,000 satellite schools. We never said that. We announced that the satellite schools we introduced in 2025 will provide over 4,417 additional spaces, which will then alleviate pressure in the high-pressure schools.
A sheriff of the court has been gunned down in Mahoro village outside Giani, Limpopo. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says a businessman is a suspect in the incident, which followed the repossession of a vehicle. The identity of the sheriff will be released after the next of kin has been informed. An investigation into the incident is underway. Johannesburg water systems are in a recovery phase after a power outage at the Mfuleni substation, which supplies power to Rand Water's Vereeniging water treatment plant. This is according to Rand Water. In a statement, the bulk water supplier says power supply at the Mfuleni substation has been fully restored. It says this will allow for full pumping capacity at the Eikenhofer and Forest Hill stations. Rand Water, however, says Johannesburg water system remain under severe strain, which may cause reduced pressure in some areas. The water utility spokesperson is Makino Simaru.
People are starting to get water. Just to give you context of what happened precisely at Mfuleni, we are supplied by Mfuleni local municipality in terms of power. So when we had that power outage, it was because of a transformer that belongs to Mfuleni. So we could not pump water on the 11th for a couple of hours. And then we had a second trip on the same system. So it affected Eikenhof and other municipalities. So we are now recovering. So people are starting to get water, beginning to get water.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says both the Southern African Development Community and East African Community leaders are working tirelessly to find a solution to the current conflict in the DRC. The African Union will this weekend hold a summit in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. Peace and security on the continent will top the agenda of the summit, which Ramaphosa will attend. There will be a special focus on the crisis in the eastern DRC, where 14 South African soldiers were killed. Ramaphosa has highlighted the importance of stability on the continent.
We here in Southern Africa are also going through the most challenging conflict in the DRC, where fortunately we are seeking all ways to restore peace and ensure that the security, our forces are still in the DRC, and the ceasefire that we've been calling for, we hope that it will take hold and be consolidated so that our forces can come back home.
And love is in the air at the Bossman Taxi rank in Pretoria on Valentine's Day. The South African National Taxi Association has treated commuters to roses and chocolates. It says the gesture is part of its Hlokomela campaign, which promotes good customer service and road safety. Santaco spokesperson Rebecca Pala says they wanted to show gratitude to commuters.
So we decided to come spend the day with our commuters by giving them roses and chocolate. And for our drivers, they'll get chocolate and T-shirts. t-shirts as well. Just a way for us to remind them that we appreciate them for choosing the taxi industry when there are so many other modes of transport that they could be utilizing to go to their varied destinations. So we thought, what better way than to come and literally show the love that we keep speaking about to be having for them.
Recapping the top story, the Gauteng Education Department has dismissed allegations that it has failed to fulfill its promise to build over 4,000 satellite schools across the province. I am Ondelambana for SAFM News Headlines at 12:30.
Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo, midday to 1 p.m. Update at noon with Sakina Kamwendo.
Exactly 7 minutes after 12. Thanks so much for tuning in to Update at Noon. And Ondelambana will keep us abreast of news developments. She'll be back with a headline update at the bottom of the hour. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Quick look at our diary this afternoon. We'll follow up on what's happening with SASSA. And I've personally also been receiving some queries from grant recipients about, queues and being told to arrive very early. So I'm going to follow up with SASSA just to find out what the situation is. I think earlier on in the week, we did actually play an interview that one of the SASSA officials did here at SABC, asking people to change from the gold card to the new Postbank black card, because the gold cards will cease to work at the end of this month, the end of Feb. So hoping that people will get to change their cards before the last week, the last few days, and, cause other problems in the process. So we'll speak to SASSA about that. And then Rea Vaya once again in the spotlight. The city of Johannesburg has announced the indefinite suspension of the Rea Vaya bus services amid safety concerns once more. So you'll remember a few weeks ago, there were 2 Rea Vaya bus drivers who were shot and killed in Soweto. And yesterday, as we understand it, taxi associations in Soweto prevented Rea Vaya feeder buses from operating. Same situation again today. So we'll be speaking to NTA, one of the taxi associations, as well as to officials either from Rea Vaya, or we'll speak to the MMC just to get a response and also to get a feel for what exactly is going on here. And then the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mr. Velenkosini Tlabisa, is convening a national convention of the Khoisan leaders to discuss and find permanent solutions to challenges that they have raised. And then Water and Sanitation Deputy Minister Sitloho is in Hartswater and visiting a dam there to assess the progress on the continuous rehabilitation program. We're just keeping a watch on that one. And, of course, a few other stories as well, including what's happening on Valentine's Day. And it is a Friday. We'll bring you an update from the coalface with Martin Creamer, as well as a quick check-in on some of the court stories appearing today.
Update at noon, midday to 1 p.m.
Now, the city of Johannesburg has announced the indefinite suspension of the Rea Vaya feeder bus services in Soweto amid safety concerns. And this follows a tense standoff yesterday where we understand taxi patrol vehicles allegedly swarmed the Thokoza Park station, demanding 45 Rea Vaya buses halt operations. Now, 2 weeks ago, 2 Rea Vaya bus drivers were gunned down in Soweto, and now, with commuters caught in the crossfire, the city faces mounting pressure to restore order and protect both the workers and the passengers. But for more on this, we joined on the line now by National Taxi Association spokesperson Theo Malele. Theo, thanks so much for speaking to us this afternoon. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Good afternoon to you, and thanks for having me, Sakina. Nice talking to you after so long.
Indeed. Theo, this is, of course, a very worrying situation. And we heard from the MMC the last time this situation spilled over. But take us through what the problem is from your perspective as the NTA with regard to the blocking of the Rea Vaya bus operations.
Well, Sakina, I think there is no proper communication between the MMC and the respective taxi operators in that respective area, Soweto in particular. The reason for that is, from the very get-go, taxi operators found themselves with buses that had foreign registration on them, and they were amazed as to what is this that was taking place within the very same space that they operate in. And it then came out that the MMC had initiated that there be such an intervention given the challenges that were faced by the Rea Vaya operators at the time. But that did not augur well because he had not informed the taxi industry about his intentions, and clearly that it is not correct. And I think the other thing, if you take a closer look at it, it's the 45 buses would represent just over 2,000 and 2,900 passengers, and that speaks to effectively 195 taxis that would be out of operation as a result of the number of passengers that would have perhaps been swayed. And if you also look at the subsidization of the public transport per se, it leaves a lot to be desired. Where your majority public transport mover is not being taken care of, and the minority public transport movers are being taken care of, and that cannot be, proper in a democratic dispensation. This does not necessarily mean that I condone any aspect of violence. I denounce such as the National Taxi Alliance, but all this that I want to put across is that the MMC must get out of his political cocoon and begin to take proper leadership and take people of the taxi industry in his confidence so that they can work hand in hand. I mean, the taxi industry has been working for years on end with, Rea Vaya buses, even though it had started off on a bad note, but there has been some collaboration throughout the years. So one would wonder as to why the sudden change. It is obviously because of the change in leadership or attitude of the leadership.
So, let's cut through the slash. Let's just get to the point here, Theo. So firstly, you say buses operating with foreign registrations, meaning registrations from other provinces.
That's correct.
So what exactly is the problem with that, given that these 45 buses, the feeder buses, were these buses not, of course, the same physical vehicles, but were they not operating on the Soweto side of things, those feeder buses, before Rea Vaya ran into problems?
No, they were not. And those buses don't even have operating license to that effect. I mean, investigations are underway within the Gauteng province to ascertain as to how they came into operation and how those operating licenses were issued. And you must also appreciate, Sakina, the fact that the taxi industry has, for the longest of time, not been privileged in getting operating licenses timeously. And all newcomers who come in and out of the blue, they have an operating license. You can still begin to ask questions as to how is this possible.
I think we're getting somewhere now. So when I say the 45 feeder buses, these buses, and I'm not talking about the actual vehicles, because these vehicles obviously have come in recently. But prior to this particular vehicle influx, the 45 that the MMC had sourced, prior to that, and I know there was a lull of maybe a year or more, but prior to that, were the Rea Vaya feeder, those routes that these feeder buses are operating on, were there no Rea Vaya buses operating there?
Well, there were Rea Vaya buses operating along those routes. Hence, in my articulacy, I did mention that there has been collaboration between the industry and the Rea Vaya bus operators within the Soweto space. They've been working closely together without any hindrances.
So this is what I'm getting to. So previously, those feeder buses did work on those routes. Then
Not exactly those feeder buses. The feeder buses that were working were feeder buses that had the signages of the Rea Vaya logo on them. So these ones that were brought in, they did not even depict such.
Yeah.
And secondly, they had foreign, as in other provinces, registration numbers. Obviously, the taxi industry operators, they too have a responsibility to ensure that they, pay their monthly installments to the financiers. And if they don't generate the necessary revenue, then they'll be out of business. And that also affects not only operators per se, but even their families and those of the drivers and the vendors that are actually servicing the industry.
Okay, so are you saying, therefore, that if these buses had the correct Rea Vaya logo and all the other elements displayed, you would the taxi drivers would not have had a problem with them?
Not only am I saying that, but I'm also saying that the MMC of Transport, Mr. Kunene, should have sat down with the operators and then explained his rationale of bringing in these operators into play. But you must also be appreciative of the fact that the industry still is unsubsidized, and these taxi operators are finding it difficult to operate under the conditions in which the political stewardship is placing them.
So let me ask this. If those buses that Rea Vaya have now brought in, those 45 feeder buses, does the taxi industry have a problem with the fact that those buses were perhaps from people or companies from outside of Soweto or Gauteng?
Now, obviously, in your area of operation, once you can see foreign operators within that, you will also, wonder as to who, these people are, and you would want to know how they came into being, because you have to also protect, the little that you have.
So, as we understand, there is currently a meeting with yourselves and the Gauteng Transport Department. What is that meeting about?
Well, the meeting actually is to cover a broad spectrum of issues, for which operating licenses are but one of those, given that, there are challenges pertaining to that. So that's what I would say at this point in time. I wouldn't want to take you into, the details of each and everything that we are actually putting on the table.
I can respect that. Ms. Mohlahlana, Theo, just hold on, because we have the MMC for Transport, Kenny Kunene, also joining us now. Mr. Kunene, thanks for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Thank you very much, Sakina, and good afternoon to your listeners.
So, from your perspective as the MMC, the buses have been halted once again, and the Taxi Association says you didn't act appropriately in terms of how these feeder buses were brought online. You didn't consult with them effectively. So what's your response to that?
Sakina, Piotrans is run by a business rescue practitioner. But before the rescue practitioner came in, the shareholders of Piotrans asked me to intervene and assist them. The company has been stolen blind by CEOs, financial managers, officials that have worked there. And we put a board after the resolution of the shareholders that I must headhunt people. And that board unraveled the rot that was there and recommended that for Piotrans to recover, they would need to fix the buses. Or lease the buses. The business rescue practitioner came in. I tried to assist, knocked at the bus companies. The board members also tried to go negotiate with bus companies to lease buses. No bus company wanted to touch Biotrans because of its financial position, correctly so. And I started talking to people I know that are in the bus business. And one of them is Mandla Gaba in Durban, who is a good friend of mine for years. And I said, you are in the bus business in KZN. Can you talk to your suppliers to at least sign a lease with the business rescue practitioner? Because now there's a business rescue practitioner, monies will be accounted for, they will be able to be paid. And indeed, he facilitated a meeting with one of the suppliers here in Gauteng. We met with them. I handed them over to the business rescue practitioner to now proceed with the administrative work. So 45 buses were leased. Now, these 45 buses are replacing the buses that have been there. Biotrans is supposed to have 143 buses. It has been running on 6 buses when the BRP takes over. It is now running on over 60 buses. Now, they are replacing the buses that are damaged. The buses are using the route that Biotrans and Reavaya is licensed to use. So if the taxi association is saying that those are their routes, they are not their routes. Patco has got their routes, Metrobus has got their routes, Reavaya has got their routes. There's 2 Reavaya, Biotrans and Disamaiso. They each have their own routes, and the taxis have their own routes. That the permit defined the route that you must use. So whilst there were no buses, because the buses were damaged, there was no money to buy buses, there was no money to lease buses. Then the taxi association in Soweto then used those routes. But those routes belong to Biotrans. These 45-feeder buses are not taking their routes. They are using the routes that are licensed for Biotrans. When a taxi breaks down or gets into an accident, the owner of the taxi will replace the taxi and it will use the same route that the damaged taxi was using, because there will be a permit to that effect. I held 2 meetings with the taxi associations of Soweto, with the leadership of the taxi associations from NTA. After 2 meetings, when the buses were supposed to work, now what he's saying that the buses came with number plates. The suppliers said, we have buses that are standing in different provinces, Mpumalanga, KZN, Free State way. We will see how many we can get that we are not using, but that are fit for road. Then you can come and register them in Johannesburg. But the people at